got Benoi with us. He is a YouTuber who is originally French, I believe. You're from France?
I'm from Switzerland, actually. And
I see.
but I'm also French. I am both. But I grew up in Switzerland, and
Nice.
also in the French-speaking part of Switzerland.
Right. And how we got in touch was, he followed me on Instagram. So apparently he saw one of my comments on Peter Santanalo's post, Instagram post. And then he sort of followed me. And then, I generally take a look at the people who follow me because I don't know if I should follow back or not. Because some of them are like, random people. So I saw this guy had a good number of followers and he's posting some decent content as well. And then I kind of followed back and I happened to take a look at his channel and it was excellent. I mean, it's exactly what the content that I want to make. That now that I've just started my YouTube career. So I'm also, in touch with Peter and the content that he makes. In fact, today he put out a post asking for suggestions about what he should do in California because he's going there. And I suggested that he cover, the situation of COVID on the impact of COVID on the Silicon Valley. And he even responded saying that's a good suggestion. So I think he'll, cover that aspect as well in the series he's making there in California. So yeah, I mean, the type of content that Benoi makes is, he goes and interacts with random people and then tries to, strike a wavelength and get to know their background because there are so many hidden stories. People generally show the places and, walls, but then the walls can't speak. The people who are there really, create a vibe in the place and they are the ones who really have, the hidden treasures, so to speak. And I really, relate with that a lot. And I'm really, fascinated with what you're doing and really wish you well, Benoi. I mean, hope your channel really makes it. And then that'll give me more motivation to make similar content if there's a good market for that. So yeah, over to you now. You can maybe give me a bit of background of where you're from, how you got into content creation and what your plans are for the future, things like that.
Yeah. So I mean, as I said, I grew up in Switzerland, and I've been having a lot of interest growing up. Like I did a lot of theater. I was doing videos with my friends. I mean, I've always been a super fan of cinema as well. So I think I would say the audiovisual sector has always attracted me. And but I did studies in different fields. But I because I also realized at some point I was like, art and content creation is all about it's manual. Like it's all about what you make. It's proactive. It's not going to be taught to you by a school.
Absolutely, yeah. Gotta improvise.
And I mean, regarding specifically the YouTube channel, like the way it started is that I've already started to make travel content, like somewhat like in 2014. And I started with making a blog. Actually, I was just proposed because my father is a journalist in Switzerland, and the journal he was working for, they were starting to launch a blog, like already late, but he was like, every newspapers are moving to that. So I started to make a blog when I went on exchange when I was in university in Hong Kong.
Right.
So I was in Hong Kong for a year and I was writing about my experience there, and I realized that I really liked to talk about travel and travel content. There it was more about living as a student in another city. And then I went on traveling myself, backpacking in Southeast Asia. This is something I always wanted to do. I was always very attracted to Southeast Asia. I like the vibe of Asia and the Pacific feeling I feel from the culture and the collectivity aspect.
So which place in Vietnam or which?
I was I first during that year I traveled. It's like the year of my life where I traveled the most, maybe up to now. And so I went to Vietnam at first. Then I did all of them. So I did Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and especially I went to Myanmar.
Right.
And when I did this trip, I realized that no one was reading my blog. Before I was having a blog hosted on a newspaper, so that kind of worked. But I was like, okay, people don't read anymore. Like so.
Yeah. The world is changing.
Let's make videos.
Yeah. And this is which year you're saying? 2015?
This was in 2015, yeah.
15, okay,
So
okay.
6 years
Quite
ago.
long back now, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really how it kind of started. And I did a trip, especially in Myanmar. I filmed it also in Thailand, but it was not so interesting. I made a video that was my very first on YouTube. That was in Myanmar, and I really enjoyed the process. And I love that I back then I did no marketing. I was just like published it like with nothing special on YouTube, and it got some views, and I was like, there's maybe something to do with my bachelor essentially. And I didn't want to continue studying. I just felt like more attracted to go on adventures or whether professionally doing projects. That's when I realized, okay, I will do that. I will make video content about travel. But then the problem is I didn't have any savings back then. And quickly I was like out of money, and I just came back from this trip and this year. So
you had a hustle. Yeah.
So that's why I didn't do anything between 2015 and basically 1 year ago. So in 2020.
So what did you study? What course were you doing in Hong Kong?
I studied management, and I had that was my major. And then I did the minor in new media. So that was like the creative aspect, where new media was like this wide field with about learning about 360 video, like how to make interactive stories. I had also like courses in like making radio shows, like a bit of all of that.
Right. So you wanted to follow, yeah, you wanted to follow your dad's path as well. Was that out of force, or was that out of interest? Like you were genuinely gravitating towards journalism?
I don't want to follow my dad's path, but I got influenced by it. Like I know I don't want to be a journalist. I mean, he always advised me to become a journalist because it's becoming harder and harder. And also, I'm really not interested too much in factual information and news, So what I always liked more was like stories and deeper. I like documentaries for sure more than journalism. So, but also, I mean, at some point I was doing theater, like fiction as well. But it just I realized that vlogging, or what I do more now, which is not just me but also the other people I meet, is you cannot categorize it super well. It's like there's a big mix of everything. You're also in front of the camera, so you're sort of a presenter, but you also got to be interesting, so the acting helps as well.
Correct.
And you're also learning other cultures, you're practicing languages, and you meet interesting people. So this was putting everything I like together. Basically, that's why I focused on doing this. And basically I lost my job because of COVID. Because between my end of studies and now I worked in a startup. So I followed more like a career path, although it was a startup, so still like pretty small stuff. But then I just worked so much during those years between 2015 and 2020 that I was like, okay, I don't feel continuing like this. I was like, I need to go back to what I originally wanted to do. And so also, I got influences from stuff that I love. Like there's this guy in France that makes documentaries that are quite similar to what I do now, called Antoine de Maximi. And all French
you shared his video with me, right?
Yes,
the old guy.
All French speakers know him. And he started to do a show about traveling and especially meeting people. And he was entirely new because he started around 2005, I think. Which was basically a bit when YouTube started as well. So vlogs didn't really exist back then. Right. And that guy did on TV, traditional media. But he kind of made the content you see on YouTube now on TV. So he was a pioneer, I believe, much more than some of the YouTubers you see today.
When they used the camcorders back in the day.
Yeah. And he has a system where he's using the reverse shot, which is like the foundation of film grammar. Where he films himself and the people he meets. And but it's like, I would say more maybe influenced by broadcast, where he has a system attached to him. He's like still like a heavy system. He has like 3 cameras. And I mean, I love what he did, but I didn't realize back then that's what I maybe would want to do. but I just realized that I love the value of this guy. I love what he was doing. Like it was everything I enjoy. Also, what I also liked about this, it was not about going higher in necessarily in society, privileges, like getting the best studies, the best jobs. Like this is a guy that is humble and that wants to meet people that are as humble as him or less, and that just are regular, ordinary people. And that's also the other aspect that I love, is that it's not about, because on the media you always see interviews of like the young rapper that is like super good, like
the people who have made it,
fundamentally.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's good because it inspires people to improve themselves, like and we're a lot in that doing. But just that I see that it's not my thing, and that there's a big gap of just regular people, that have amazing stuff. And so another amazing influence to me was Brandon Stanton, who is few people know him by his name, and he's the creator of Humans of New York. And this is the same, you cannot categorize it.
I've heard of that. Yeah. Is that a show? Humans of New York? What is that?
No, it's not a show. It's not video. It's a photographer, and it's a blog as well. So he publishes pictures on Facebook. That's how it started. Now he's also on Instagram.
Right.
He was publishing pictures of random people he met in the streets and sharing their stories. Short story that the people would tell about. Usually about
got it. Right. Because there's something similar in India called Humans of Bombay. So Bombay is like a city in India. So that's a spin-off of Humans of New York. Yeah, that's how.
There are actually spin-offs all over the world about humans off, and everyone took over this concept.
Yeah. True.
Different medium, but the content is similar also to what I'm inspired by, like to have a bit like portraits of people met, chance. And that's why I believe
amplifying ordinary people with great stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not just a vlog, it's just, I don't want to make this channel only about myself. I also want to make this a vehicle where it's a 50-50 between me and the other people I meet.
Exactly.
And so that's another influence. And those were the two main. And I remember that when I took Humans of New York, like many people, I felt, wow, I could have done that, and after a couple of times where I felt I could have done this, and I saw other shows like that could have been missed. So then I was like, okay, let's just do it, and start now.
True. So you obviously, you speak a lot of languages, so that makes it easier for you to travel. Sometimes it's a language barrier. Like even if I come to some place like say Mexico, Switzerland, I'm going to struggle. Switzerland, obviously a lot of people speak English, but Mexico, you have to know Spanish, right?
Yes.
Or in France, or in Portugal, Spain, all those countries. So, but you kind of have a way with that because you can speak all those different languages. So, which all languages can you speak, and how did you pick them up?
I mean, I don't speak too many. Like I speak my mother tongue French, and I speak English, and I put a lot of effort into learning English because I knew it was the international language, simply. So now I speak it quite well because I put a lot of effort into it, and I speak a bit of Spanish. That's about it.
A bit of Spanish, okay.
Yeah. And only now, I would say I can have conversations in Spanish. So actually, the next video I will publish on YouTube I think is the first time that I have exchanged with people in Spanish. I didn't manage to have this before.
Right. That's awesome, man. But if you see, there are a lot of these Indian YouTubers who travel abroad, and they don't even speak proper English. So it's basically Hindi that they speak, right? And what I've noticed is just through sign language and the things that you're trying to indicate, you can have a conversation. Like it doesn't have to be expressed. Like that's the power of human interaction, and just the desire to speak to another person. That itself can get them to open up and say a few things, which like what do you have to say about that?
This is almost the most interesting part, and this is only possible on video. on text or podcast, you cannot
Yes.
have this. So the how do you
Because they're
call it, like the
exposed. All the facets
yeah,
are exposed. Yeah.
non-verbal language. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's super. I think it's going to play a big part as well in my channel. I'm trying to find the balance as well between, is it too conversational or, and I think I will improve at this, like, because I will land, even though I can speak like 3 languages, I will end up in situations where I cannot communicate with the person. So I can't wait to have more of these hand gestures interactions. But I remember that my favorite video of Antoine de Maximi that I mentioned, he was in Cambodia and in a lost village with people that didn't speak any English. And he just had this interaction with this guy, like just with the hands and like expressions. And at the end, the other guy was playing an instrument. And so he started to like whistle in his hand like this. And they started to make music together. And I was like, wow, this is like so amazing, you know, like you don't say a word. And
Exactly.
yeah, so definitely, I think probably the most important language you need to know for travel content is the hand and I mean non-verbal language.
Exactly. Yeah. So what is your process like, Benoit? I mean, I'm curious, you know, because as a person, like I'm kind of introverted. Like I find it difficult to even talk to strangers, although there's no reason why you should be. So I mean, like obviously, just going and filming them, just going and starting a conversation, they're not always open to it, right? So how do you kind of figure your way out, and how do you manage to make the other person feel comfortable, right? That's the main sort of challenge.
I mean, I don't consider myself very extroverted. I think there are other YouTubers that are more extroverted than I am. I'm not super introverted either, and maybe in the middle, you know, but
somewhere in between.
What helped me a lot, I mean, like I've done a lot of theater improv, and this have gave me a lot of unconscious keys to approach people and just go, you know, go with the flow, see how it goes, and then you laugh and so this definitely helps a lot because it's a lot about energies you're like emanating. It's not so much about what you're saying, is more your attitude. And there are just days that are better than others. Like honestly, there are days where I don't really feel into it, or I'm just tired because I had a long day, and then I'm like, okay, I just have this time to make a video, and I'm automatically more shy in these situations. Whereas other days I'm like full of energy and I have no problem, I go. So that's the first step, I would say. Like, the thing is, I am very motivated by the fact I'm making a video, because when I don't film, it's hard. I have less motivation to interact with people. Because I make the video, I'm like, yeah, I need to make a great video and everything. So
the pressure is always there.
And it's a lot like sports. You need to warm up as well. So usually the first interaction, and that's what happened in the last video I made, I didn't keep it because it was a bit more like awkward. But I was warming up, and like then the next interactions, or I get more.
It gets better.
Good. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a lot like this, where the first ones usually it's difficult, and especially the first videos I did doing these interactions, I was super scared actually. Like, and I remember the first one was in Switzerland. Just got out, and it's a guy that actually started to speak to me, and I was like, thank you, making it like easier for me, like. And after that, he started to unlock, you know, the more you do it, it's like public speaking, like the more you do it, there's this point where you start to get comfortable. And so I just hope we will get better. Like I still feel I have a long journey in front of me. So maybe in a couple more dozens of videos, or like in 1 year, I will be able to teach better about this. But those are my current tips for it. Yeah. I don't have specific techniques. I don't know, like I don't have specific things I say, or I just go a bit with the flow, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the flow, right? When you're doing something like what you're doing, because you totally don't know, like you don't know me right now, but then you just know that we're having a podcast. Similarly, I'm not prepared for this, right? So I'm like, let's
Yeah.
talk to this guy and let's see what he's about, because I only know your content, but that's just one aspect of you. Like there's a whole person behind that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, luckily, this is the first time you're talking, and then I don't feel that. Like I feel like we've known each other for months now, because
Yeah, I'm glad.
yeah.
And
So
one
that's
thing I wanted to say as well is that for me is like maybe it's a sign of my extrovertness not completely reached, is that I feel better when I go to a theater class. I feel better after I make a video, and the next days after I have interacted with people, I am more extroverted even though I'm not filming.
right.
So it's also about like keeping it regularly, and it keeps that energy where I feel I'm at my 100% capacity instead of a bit below, which I would be if I just staying behind a computer the whole day, like.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, sorry, I lost where the train now.
No, that's so true. That's so true. Because when I made my Udaipur series, I don't know if you took a look at my channel is yet. I don't know if you found time for that. But I made like 17 blogs, 17 videos. And that was over a span of 6 days. And all 6 days I was working. So I was like living in a hostel and working. So I would like, log in at 10:30, 11 in the morning, and then log out at about 7:30, 8 in the evening. And the early mornings and the nights, I would go and explore the city. And then sometimes in between, like during lunch as well.
Your lunch,
Right?
yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I made 17 videos. I managed to work and, create content all at the same time, like without any experience. So when I was editing, I was like, I did so much, and I didn't even take a day off. So sometimes, I feel like we don't push ourselves enough. So we feel like we don't have time. But then if you account for each minute, and if you just, go for it, and, try to find a way out, then you can do so much. Like 24 hours is actually a lot of time. You can achieve so much in one day.
Yes.
Right? It's all about, going for it, taking it up as a challenge, and, just finding your way. I don't think like everything has to be trained, everything has to be thought out. You don't have to be prepared and then, keep it scripted and all that. I think
for sure.
just go with the flow, and that's when it really comes out natural. Right? When you do things without a plan. Because once it's written down, then it's like it's different, because you already know what's going to happen, so that excitement isn't there. When you have no clue like what's going to happen next, that's when it's more likely that something good is going to come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there are two elements that you were mentioning here. Like one is the productivity, and I don't feel I am productive enough. I never feel that. For me, it's difficult. Like I see those other creators that publish like once a week on YouTube. I'm not there yet, because I'm also having other gigs at the same time. But one thing that is sure is that there is I think it's the laws of Pareto or something, like when you made 80% of the result with 20% of your time. Right. Basically, for me is that if I have enough sleeping hours, I'm way more efficient, for example, in my day. I guess everyone is a bit different. Right. So I don't know, for me it was difficult because I was working so much in a startup back then. I was trying to even edit some videos for my holidays, and I was just getting tired. I was like doing this on the weekend, and I felt I needed to rest. So it's about the priorities, I guess. Like what's most important to you, because maybe if your job is your second priority, and but back then it wasn't the case. I was very dedicated, so it was difficult. But if your priority is depends on what your priority is, and not to do too many stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the other aspect, the spontaneity, like I love. I mean, I would say more. I hate scripted stuff. I realize I don't like to prepare. I don't like to write.
Same with me. Same with me. Yeah.
It's painful. Like it's just how we are. Like there are other people, they prefer to prepare and everything. Right. So most of the YouTube channels out there, they are informative. They're like product reviews or tutorials or whatever. And so for that you need to script, but I could not do a channel like this.
Right. It's just not our style. And one more thing I want to add, along with priorities, it's what makes you happy, right? I mean,
Yes.
end of the day, I think all of us do a job for money. I don't think anyone is 100% interested in what they're doing. Like that, you're very lucky. Like you're a sports person, or you've got like a job that's really, like, say in advertising or something like that, where you really put your heart and soul into it. But then I think majority, or over 90% of the people just do it because you get a paycheck at the end of the month, right? And you don't want to do that for the rest of your life. The reason why you earn money is to enjoy life, right? So
Yes.
that's where, that's where you really feel satisfied, you feel gratified, and that's really food for your soul, right? So you find a way to do it no matter what. So even though you have office work and all that, you're still going to figure out a way to pursue your passions, and do what really you really want to achieve in life. Because once you've done that, then you feel it's better than getting a promotion at work, right? Because
For
you've
sure.
done something, you've done something that that you really wanted to do, but then you've proved it. You wanted to be a YouTuber, you wanted to travel, you wanted to make videos and all that. So that, it's not the subscribers, right? It's not how many people are watching it, but it's just seeing that your videos are out there. Yeah, there's a channel for you. And, at some point, people might watch it, and then people might, like what you've made. But then that validation, it depends. Like for me, that doesn't matter personally. Doesn't matter whether people like it or not. It's just the fact that I've made it, and I've created content, and that was one of my goals. So I've kind of achieved that. And then you can definitely get better with time, but then starting is important than getting off the blocks, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the best part about YouTube is, I think, is to improve your content at the beginning, at least.
Right.
That you get actually a few people to see it, and then they maybe sometimes they give you feedback, but it's like that. Yeah, as you say, you get started, and the process of producing, to me, is the best part about doing YouTube. Just the fact of publishing your creations, like, and I don't know, it's
it's like a high, right?
I know I was saying that the goal of the subscribers is more to sustain yourself and earn enough money to do just that. So basically,
yeah, that's true. And so do you prefer this sort of content more than the regular travel content? And what attracted you towards interviewing people rather than showing places and visiting?
You mean in comparison to regular travel content?
Exactly.
Like you can think back of when people visit a country, like even for holidays, and it happened to me as well, because I was in a group or something, that you don't meet any local. Like you just go to a beach, or you go to this nice parties.
Restaurant,
you eat good food, you see monuments.
Exactly.
And then you come back, and it's like, have you, let's say if you went to Greece, like, have you seen Greece? It's an interesting question, like, because you have seen sightseeing, like this kind of aspects. And the things that all started to me is like there are some travels I did that had a profound impact on my values and how I live in my life.
Right.
And those came because of immersion with locals in those countries.
So true.
And those, I remember it so well. It happened to me, I remember, in Macedonia once with a friend that was from there. And it was often like this, like people I know that invited me to visit their country. So I wasn't going to a certain place because I was looking for a destination or a place, but because someone gave me the chance to stay at their place with the locals and with their families. That happened to me in Macedonia. That happened to me as well in the Philippines. I remember when I was younger. Well, first time when I was 17, and then the other time I was like 20 something. So, and those were really like strong like experiences of travel. And they would say this is the beginning of how I see things. So it's really about the people, about the locals, and that's why I'm attracted to travel content that is about meeting the locals, like basically. And also it's more authentic, obviously, because the problem of like a lot of travel channels is that they are focused on the other part often. And when you put music or when you put drone shots or something, to me, it breaks the immersion. It's like I'm aiming for make the viewer the feeling as if he was there, traveling with me or not. But whereas when you create a movie, basically with the music and all the other effects, and it can be in 4K, like very good quality with good cameras.
Right.
But when you watch these kind of videos, they are great, but when you finish the video, and I don't know if it's everyone that feels like this, but I feel the feeling gives me is that is some kind of envy, or like I'm like, oh, this life of this guy is amazing, and it mirrors as well to my own life, where I'm like, my life is shit, comparison.
Yeah.
But this is the communication, but that you receive, but it's actually not the fact, because you're showing the best aspects on video, but
Exactly.
It's just a story.
Exactly.
It's fiction, ultimately. Even though it looked like a non-fiction documentary, it is more a fiction, and it's not representative of the experience of the vlogger, for example, that went to this country. So that's another aspect of why I don't connect to this type of content. And also, like, one thing that is true is that traveling, because of transportation, has an environmental cost as well. So I think it's still I'm not thinking that we should stop traveling, like some people think, because for me it's too important to have the cultural exchange. But precisely, I think that if you travel, for me is important that it should have some life lessons into it, like. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's all. That's the whole point, and that's why after when I started YouTube, I discovered other YouTubers that were a bit like this, like Kurt Cass, for example, who exploded like in the last year, and he reminded me of Antoine de Maximi, this French guy that started it all for me. And I was like, Kurt Cass, he has something similar, he's more real ultimately. So he's aiming for authenticity. And it's funny because you might think, but man, that's what my friends tell me, you need to add music, you need to add all of that to improve the video.
Yeah.
And to me, filming like a shot with cables, electric cables on the shot and everything that usually other creators avoid, it is important because it is how the place is, So I think there are a lot of people that understood that they like more what is real, they like more authenticity. And also you feel better at the end of the video, You've been traveling with the person, you're not like comparing to your life or anything, because instead of watching someone traveling, you identify it too. You have a bit less, you still have that, but it's a little bit less. What you feel more is more, you learn about the place. So it's also why there are two types of travel channels on YouTube. I mean, we already mentioned like this. There's the raw and authentic, and then the beautiful and a bit more like
the marketed content.
Yeah, commercial kind of, because that attracts sponsors as well.
Yeah.
But the other, even outside of the travel, in the travel niche as well, the other way of looking at it is you have informative channels that are basically travel guides. So people watch those videos because they're planning on going somewhere. So they check the videos of YouTubers that went to this place, and they're like, okay, you can do this and that, basically.
Yeah.
And I try to go for something that is actually harder to grow on YouTube. That is, you don't watch it because you want to go there. You watch it because you want to travel by watching the video.
Right.
this is difference. Like, this is what I'm aiming for.
Right.
And also, obviously, if you search information, you will search in the search bar of YouTube, like what to do in Mexico City, and whereas my content, unfortunately, it is not very search friendly. I'm not answering a problem people have.
Exactly.
So that's the difficulty as well of growing for channels like mine. But
but exactly to your point, you can search what to do in Mexico City. You'll get like 100 different YouTube videos, and you're going to get like a list from Google. A custom-made list of the top restaurants, the top hangouts. Everything is custom made because of AI, machine learning, and whatnot. But how are the people like in Mexico, right? Where can you find that answer? And that's kind of the database that you're creating. And when people watch those videos, they get a feel of how hospitable people are. What can you expect from an interaction? What is the general vibe of the place? What is the mindset of the people like? And another point I wanted to make was that a country is so much more than just a postcard. Like you think about India, like what do people know about India? Taj Mahal, first of all. And, maybe the Red Fort, maybe Mumbai, maybe Delhi. But, India is so vast, dude. Like each city is so unique. Each state is like its own country because we have so many languages. There's so much diversity. And one of the ideas that I have is to go to like different cities, because there are thousands of cities in India. I don't even know the names, honestly, of most of the cities. Like there are a few of my colleagues living in smaller towns that I'm hearing for the first time. So I'm like, dude, this is so unexplored. Just imagine going to those towns and making videos about that. Like the whole town is going to watch it because it's probably the first video of that town that's made it to the internet, right? And there's so much scope. There's so much to cover. And just to add to that, when you capture a country, right? When you say like you've been to Nigeria, when you've been to say Switzerland for that matter, how do you justify covering the entire country? Because you're saying you're posting a Switzerland series, right? How do you justify the entire country in a span of a few videos? Like that's not easy. That's not
no, for sure.
You're not even scratching the surface, because how much ever content you make, there's always going to be something that's left out. So your plan has to be so clear. You have to be so transfixed and so obsessed with what you're doing that you try to achieve a particular goal. Otherwise, you're just somewhere somewhere in the roadmap, and you're doing it just to get views, which is what I would say almost everyone on YouTube does, right? You're just trying to like make it clickbait, and you're trying to get you run ads and make money from it. But you don't have an actual objective. Like people just walk around with the camera, dude. They're like, they don't know where they're going, what they're doing. And there are lakhs of people, I mean, hundreds of thousands and millions of people who are actually watching that content. I'm like, dude, this guy's aimless. But he's actually taking his subscribers for a ride. He's just trolling them, saying that you're going to watch whatever I make. I don't want to name names, but there's a ton of people who actually do that. And it's so easy.
It's usually the biggest YouTubers as well. It's like they don't necessarily have a passion. They take the hot topics or like what works.
Yeah.
So no, definitely. I mean, it asks the ultimate questions of why are we doing what we do? Like, and for me, of course, there is some personal aspects of course, it's amazing to travel as a job, like because travel has, as I said, amazing impact on my life. It might diminish at some point, and maybe I do something else. Right. But also, I think is that envy of sharing stories of other people as well, like that envy of discovery. It's like, maybe if you ask me where ideally I would see myself in 20 years, I would find it amazing if I could make documentaries that are on Netflix or National Geographic, something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it comes back to the goal. Like, and so YouTube became a good thing of starting all this. And right now, with the concept I have, which is Benoi encounters, where I meet people and I meet locals spontaneously. Maybe the concept will be different in the future, but it's all like going towards the same goal. So,
right.
But of course, I mean, there are. I would say this is the artistic approach to things, and it has an ego aspect. It's like I think that what I have to something interesting to say, and that other people will like, little bit. And and in that sense, I will not downplay the other kind of creators that are more focused on solving problems. They're like, okay, people look information on that topic, so I'm going to solve their problem and make a video on that. That would be interesting to watch compared to texts, on Google or. And of course, they are very successful because they solve problems, but basically they function like a business.
Yeah.
And the artist or the creator, I would say more, has a different way of functioning.
Right.
It's harder. So
yeah. It is harder because, when you're filming places, it's always easy because you know what to expect. You know, you're going to a particular place, you'd have done a bit of research, and then you're going to show them what the buildings are like, the background to it, the history of it, which king built it and whatnot. So you have a rough idea. But then when you're meeting people, like, first of all, you don't know if they're open to interacting. There might be a bit of they might be holding back, or they might be shy, they might be sort of,
it's harder.
Yeah,
you might have ask you not just to be a good filmmaker or a good creator, you have to be almost a good salesman.
Exactly.
And master human interactions. But that's a big part of the success of Brandon Stanton and Humans of New York, is that compared to all photographers, he had focused his content. The outcome of his content depends on the success of the human interactions he has. So this makes it like a barriers to entry in that field. And so that's why it's harder, but it's less crowded as well. So
I was people are generally skeptical, right? People are generally skeptical. Like, you don't know how much to share. You don't know what information, how that information is going to be used. People might, take it the wrong way, or people might, misunderstand you, misconstrue you, and then you might be misled. So first of all, they have to trust you. You have to trust a stranger, and then you have to let them speak what's in their mind, because they can just give you a fake story, right? They can just tell you, my life is boring, I'm doing nothing, what are you here for? They might turn it out to you. But then if they really understand what you're really trying to do, and you've got to achieve that in a short span of time, right? Because once you get on the wrong foot, and when people are, a bit skeptical of what this guy is trying to achieve, then, it's already, you've lost the game there. So it's pretty tricky that way if you come to think of it. So I'm sure you have a bit of failures, right? Like not all your interactions can be uploaded. Like few of them don't turn out as you expect. A lot of them.
Of course, and I mean, when I did the video, I cut a lot of stuff where conversations are not working, like or when I don't even manage to start,
Right.
And and on top of that, there's the camera. So it's like there's the whole issue of people that don't like to be filmed as well. And this depends on different cultures as well. Not just, there are different people that react to it, thankfully, and there are different cultures as well. Like in Switzerland, it was actually harder than in Mexico for me, because it's a bit like Switzerland, Germany are countries that I don't like too much people to film them without their permission, let's say.
They're more private.
Yeah, it's more private. So it was difficult, especially when I started, because I didn't have yet the good energy to make people feel comfortable. So people, if you have a weird energy, because I was stressed, I was like, okay, I need to speak to strangers. I'm filming them, so I'm filming myself as well. When I was editing the very first test I did, I looked so weird. I was like, because I could see myself all vulnerable, like speaking to strangers and filming myself and filming them. So it was a lot of layers. But I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I improved. But the problem is that if you ask, I ask permission from time to time, and I have to say I don't have time. But because sometimes you can also end up in a situation where when you ask permission is where it becomes suspicious, you know. So why are you asking me
It might
permission?
seem to
Because
them like you have ulterior
yeah,
motives, like you're trying to sell them something, or you're trying to get something, because like the way of the world is nothing is for free, right? Everything is paid. So they
yes,
know somewhere there's something hidden in the beneath this, and at some point he's going to like scam you or ask you to pay for money, like directly or
yes,
indirectly. He's going to charge you for it. So I can imagine like a ton of people must be wary of just opening up and letting you do what you're trying to do, right?
yes. I mean, there are some people that will never understand, no? Or they will just disagree. They will be like, "This is unethical to or illegal even to film some publish without their permission."
Yeah.
But maybe at this point we can just agree to disagree, you know, like and those people they can go see something else, you know.
Yeah.
But the things that any documentary, most documentaries, they are based on a strong permission, you know, and like and so they are formal, you know. There is a time for the interview where people
The
are
disclaimers,
sitting,
yeah.
and the questions are being asked.
Yeah.
And the big problem of that is that you lose all the authenticity and the conversational aspects, because I don't want to make interviews. I want
Yeah.
to
It
film real
becomes
conversations.
formal. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and so there is no answer to that.
Correct.
However, I would say you have more responsibility as a creator of what you're sharing of those people. So of course I will try to not put them in a bad situation. And if they do something or they say something that all of us were guilty of doing, when he's on video, is like it looks worse than when he's in reality. You would always forgive someone for saying something bad in conversation is normal, you know, we are, or even you are drunk or whatever.
Yes, yes. You get scrutinized a
On
lot
video,
once it's posted, yeah.
yes, I learned that even myself, you know, like because I just made a like comment that to me was actually I didn't mean it. I was more like, this guy wouldn't stop talking, you know. I was saying like this, but something that maybe you could have said to your friend after you meet someone that is like, yeah, that's so true. He talks a lot, you know. Like on video, it looked like I lacked respect to the person, you know. But I understand that. Well, you know, like I realized that I have more responsibility now as well to what I'm
say the
saying
right
and
thing.
what I'm
Yeah.
showing.
Yeah. It's perceived differently. So you've got to be, you know, it has to be natural. At the same time, you've got to be responsible of the comments you're making.
Right? Yes, yes.
So
I mean, and I have nothing more. I am still in the process of learning all that. You know?
Exactly. I mean, we're all in in the learning stage. Like the learning never stops, as they say. So I don't think anyone's an expert for that matter. I think the moment you stop learning is when you start dying, right? That's when you become stagnant.
Yeah.
So,
and also something that is interesting is that people are judging you on what they see on the video. They're not judging you on what you removed from the video, you know?
Yeah.
And they're also, everyone is influenced a lot on how they read stuff.
Right.
On the viewers and on the people I interview, and that's already an interview, but I talk with, because I can really realize influenced a lot what the person is going to tell me. It depends everything little words I said. Saying, for example, the last video I published in Portugal, I just thought it was interesting when this old guy told me that his wife passed away.
Yeah.
So I re-asked about this at some point. I was like, so maybe it's harder because I don't know. And boom, he started to say something interesting, went into that direction, you know.
Right.
But I mentioned other stuff that I cut out of the video. We're talking about working, you know, on construction field or living abroad.
Yeah.
But that's not what I wanted. that's something as well I learned from Brandon Stanton, is like he's trying to ask questions that are not opinion oriented, but that are really emotions and life experience oriented.
Right.
Asking, what do you think of? You ask the person, hardest moment of your life. It's completely different. So, and on the viewers is the same. So if we go back to the topic of what I was talking about, my difficulty to approach people and them being comfortable with the camera. So because I mentioned that, people were like, yeah, what you did there was not right, you should have asked permission. But if I had not mentioned that, I'm 100% sure that people would not even have thought about that aspect.
Exactly.
The other YouTubers, like All and Bankrupt and Kurtcast, they often film people that are not super agreeing to be, but they are not making any more comments on that, so it doesn't become the subject of the video,
Yeah.
And just saying that because people maybe are unaware of these aspects.
True.
I mean, these are the foundations also of haters and all of that.
Right. So
because they look at the information that is available.
Yeah, another thing, Benoi, is especially that guy you mentioned, the Portuguese guy who you went and sat down and had a beer with him. I think that's the same video where your battery ran out, like you couldn't record the whole thing, and so you uploaded only a part of it. That was.
You mean the one in Portugal?
Yeah, the one in Portugal, the one where he spoke about his wife. And then, he said something which kind of struck me, right? He said that he's been feeling lonely in the last couple of years because of COVID and, because of isolation and people living alone. I think that's become a reality for people all around the world now, because all of us are living remotely and all of us are just, doing our jobs without really interacting with people, like without meeting folks and really having that bond that we used to take for granted, right? Pre-COVID, like it used to happen so often. So, have you noticed that? Have you noticed a change in people now? Like they're more sort of, they're more introverted. They're scared to come out and, meet people. Like probably pre-COVID, it would have been easier to do these things.
I don't know. Like honestly, no, I don't have a comparison, I only made one video a long time ago before COVID. I actually started after COVID. So I don't feel there's a big difference because, as soon as people are in a social situation, they forget a bit about COVID quickly. So as in general, do they feel more like lonely?
Yeah.
It's not something I have to say that I necessarily feel. Because maybe in the first place, the people I meet, they are outside, they're doing some stuff. So maybe they're not the ones that feel the loneliest. Maybe.
Yeah.
And this guy said he felt lonely. I don't remember if he mentioned COVID, but especially felt lonely because of being old, and especially in Europe, like I guess in richer countries, like old people feel more lonely because they have less children and they
live by themselves.
Yeah. Yes. And especially this guy is a widower. He lost as well his wife. So So he felt even more lonely.
Right.
And that was what it was interesting. That video actually didn't say much about Portugal. He said more something about people, about all people.
Yeah. I think that
so
also that might be, it makes it easier for you now because people are kind of looking for someone to talk to, because there's been no one knew that really came up to them and said something, because social distancing, wearing a mask and all that, it was all in effect. So you're kind of scared of meeting new people, and you kind of just worried about protecting yourself. But now, since it's slowly going away, people are like, yeah, this guy wants to talk to me. Like, let's take this opportunity. Like, who else is up for a chat, right? I mean, you're not going to meet a lot of people whom you can who want to interact with you. So let's see what it's about. I think they have more curiosity now.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I noticed that when I was in Switzerland and summer of 2020, when basically everywhere in Europe, the cases went almost down.
Right.
And so people were just coming out of the first strong lockdown. And
wave, yeah.
I had never seen people, I mean, the city was, but there it was so alive. There were so many people outside, doing stuff.
Right.
And I think we all felt that, like especially when it was really heavy, and now the restrictions are a bit less. But before it was like you couldn't wait. When are we going to do a party? It's going to be crazy, and people go wild when they finally are free.
Yeah,
I noticed that, but my videos, what I have is another anecdote I have is more. I started to think seriously about this YouTube channel project before COVID, right before. In 2019, I was starting to do my first tests. I had to move from 100% to 80% to start slowly to do that. Back then, it was like super difficult for me to figure out the right system with the camera and to start to speak to people. It was hard, and I did this first test in a park, I remember, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's difficult, but it's possible. Like, and then COVID arrived, and I was like, fuck, like now I was like, it's gonna be very complicated for my project if I cannot approach people, and of course I was worried as well, I was like, if my job is to speak to as many people as possible, and
yeah,
I will expose myself to COVID, and or
right.
People will hate me because I'm a super spreader.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that I would say now that I and that's why when I actually reactivated my channel, it was not on encounters. It was traveling during COVID. That was the topic on my channel. Even though I knew I was going to go towards the encounters, I was like, in the meantime, I'm going to do this because I felt because of the COVID, it was not yet the moment. And also I was not super ready. I had friends that told me, but you're overthinking, like just produce whatever you produce, just produce it. And that's why I started to just make video on my phone and my DSLR. And I was just like, let's just make like vlogs, what I called vlogs, which was just me and myself on my holidays and travels. And I was not filming so much the locals. It was just a way of getting started for me. And I learned a lot about YouTube, but thanks to that, how to publish, how to make thumbnails, and also simply to speak to the camera to start. So at least this, I was comfortable when I started to approach people, at least,
Correct. Yeah.
But I knew that it was what for me to make the channel interesting was going to be the encounters with people. And so now I'm glad I'm glad that people are less scared, whatever the reason, being vaccinated or they already got the virus or anything. Now I am vaccinated, so I just feel that at least I am not like spreading it, like, or less. So
yeah,
now I think it's good. I can do this channel, and I think it's gonna get better in the coming months and years. So
yeah, for sure. I feel it's good that you stuck to your goal. You didn't scrap your idea completely because you were like, COVID's happened and now, no one's going to talk to me. So maybe I should do some other content, or let me just follow the regular, the conventional YouTube vlogging style.
Yes.
Because people are anyway watching that.
Yeah.
So then you may get more views doing that. But then you stuck to your mindset and your intention.
Yes. It was too late, so it didn't work actually. But I remember at the height of the first confinement, we didn't know how long this thing was going to be, and honestly I was scared that for so many years I was working and saving money in order to travel, and I was like, why I waited too long? I will never be able to travel again.
Yeah,
and that was an anxiety I had, but I ended up watching a video from Divert Living, one of the used to be a couple travel channel. Yeah. And they were traveling during COVID, and I found it fascinating. Like they were in Mexico, I remember, and everything was in lockdown. I saw that and I was like, oh wow, yeah. it's not stopping them.
Yeah.
Impressive for me. And I got really hooked back then into their content. But now I don't follow anymore. It was like,
Yeah.
what they were doing during COVID, and they are not a couple of, but and then I realized, okay, so probably that must help a lot of YouTubers to travel during that difficult period, and that's why I also started. But when I did it, it was already too late, so it didn't. There was already too much people doing travels during COVID.
Right. And so what attracted you towards Peter's content, Benoi? I mean, that's what you watch. So do you intend on making like these planned interactions and getting more into particular aspects of people's lives? Like that's what Peter does. So he tries to find out what the problems of people are and then bring that up to the stakeholders. Like he was talking about landowners not being abandoned because of the new laws in New York and all those places. So the tenants were taking advantage of that because they had exemptions on their rent, so they just wouldn't pay, and then the landowners were being stranded, and they were poor because they were not getting the rental income, which is the main source of earning a living. And so things like that, complex policy decisions and all that. That's what he kind of films, and then he made a series about the Amish people, their lifestyle, how they go about living, and then the Jews, the Hasidic Jews. So he makes this excellent content, this deep content by living with people, staying in their homes and then attending their functions, their various ceremonies. And that's another way of getting to know the culture a lot, right? Like attending marriages, attending their engagements, or their various parties, like how people behave in certain environments. So what aspect of his content that that did you like the most?
I haven't seen, actually, I have to say, too many of his videos. Just as a creator, you need to spend more time creating than watching. But I heard many people talking about the videos on the Amish that were very good, so I plan on watching them. And I heard some podcasts as well from Peter Santanello, where he was talking about specifically being invited to weddings and that way of discovering the culture. And so definitely, like something is actually maybe my channel to go towards is ended up on an adventure after having encountered someone. That I want that person to take me into something. Could be just show you my way to work, or you can sleep in my home. That was actually the concept of the French guy I mentioned before. Or we can go eat together, or yes,
just want to become friends with them. Yeah.
I would like to have a certain type of adventure that happens with them. That's how I picture the next step for me. Maybe this way, maybe not. But I still need to find as well how to make those things happen. And the problem is that I'm not yet, I would say, because I'm still in a transition now. I'm still like having some side jobs because of the channel is small.
You're not fully invested in that. In the content.
I am invested, but travel-wise, I make videos when it's convenient to make them. It's like, okay, we are going there, so I take the opportunity to make a channel. That was the case in Portugal. We were going there because my girlfriend had a friend of them that was there, and she really wanted to see her while she was in Europe. So we went there. And I was like, okay, great, you're in Portugal, I will take the opportunity to make a video. What needs to change now is I want to travel to a place for the purpose of making the videos. And I think that having more days and more availability will enable me to have more of these kind of adventures.
Right.
And I don't know yet where it's going to lead me. But yeah, and I'm still working on that. I don't know, like, should I like? I saw that going to busy places is really cool, like to markets, for example.
Markets, yeah.
Uh, and so that's what I did on my last video that I'm going to publish. So I'm experimenting still, like, so also, you know, it's taking inspiration from other people like Peter Santanello or Kurt Kaz, or Antoine Maximi, the French guy. And so I'm actually, I don't have too much answers on that. And I can't wait to be invited to a wedding of a special community somewhere, you know.
Yeah. That's so true. So you've met people, you know, from a lot of countries. Like, how many countries have you been to now? Maybe 5, 10? Probably more.
Probably a bit more, I think. Not because in Europe, I've been to many because they're close, you know.
Say 20 odd, right? So my question is
something like that, yeah.
Yeah. How do you when you look at people, obviously people look different, like Indians look different, you know, the whites look different. You got Africans like Asians, and everyone has a different appearance. But like, do you think that the people are essentially all the same? Like, we just want to be happy, we just want to lead good lives. Like, what is your you know, assessment of people from different parts of the world?
I mean, that's we are all humans in here, no? So that's fascinating when you realize that. Especially there are some jokes, you know, that you find everywhere. Those are the funniest for me. Like in Myanmar, when we were like sitting with these guys at the entrance of a big temple, and I remember I had very few budget to travel, so I was with this other I met from Israel. I met him on the road. We had an amazing time. Actually, I will send him the podcast, so I'm telling hi to him. It's nice to use Ziad. And like we were sitting in front of one of the main temples of Yangon, actually, and we didn't have money to go in. We had, but we're traveling on a low budget, so it was quite expensive for foreigners. And so we just sit at the entrance, the tourist guides, and we just started chatting with them. And I find it amazing that they were making jokes, you know, about some kind of sexual jokes, you know.
Right.
And I was like, this is funny, you know, like this is like universal. Like there are some stuff that are like this universal. And yeah, I think at the beginning when you travel, and that's why I felt you're like submerged by the differences, you know, because for the first time you are in another culture, you know? And this is great, you know. It's the amazing part to see how people live and think differently.
Right.
And when the more you travel, it starts to become the other way around. What becomes amazing is that how similar we are wherever in the world.
True.
This is a very interesting topic. Has always fascinated me. You know, even when we are kids, you know, like you know people of where you grew up. I grew up in a village, so it's like I know the people of the village. And when suddenly you see other kids because there is an event of I remember there was these kids coming from Belgium in my village. They were coming once a year because they were doing a study trip from a village that had the same name in Belgium. And suddenly it was funny. You see all those guys, and you're like, they are like us. They are kids, but are a bit different. You know, like a different culture. Yeah, it's super interesting. And then you're like, yeah, we're the same, but we're not the same. And what now I notice that there are some elements, like especially usually on the level of development of countries, like in less developed countries, you see chickens. That is something in every developing countries. You have chickens around the village, and you have this noise, you know. Like
yeah. The cocks crowing in the morning. Yeah, farming.
And some elements are similar. Yeah. Some elements are similar. The way people like it's a more simple life, you know. Like so in the end, you cannot have 1,000 different ways of leading a simple life, you know.
Exactly, it's a good point.
you know, TED Talks, you know, like people love to watch TED Talks, as we mentioned before, inspiring people, you know, that succeeded. But my favorite TED Talks of all is from this guy from Croatia. I forgot his name. And he was making this TED Talk. It's one of the actually the 50 top watch. Was my top favorite about traveling without money.
And yeah, I've seen, I don't know his name, but yeah, I've seen his video. I think he's been to every country in the world. That's the guy?
Maybe, I'm not sure if he went to every, but yeah.
I've seen his video.
He was telling this story that everyone was warning him, you know, like, don't go there, bad there, and then people turn out to be amazing. And he said, in the end, we're all
right.
But I mean, we're also able to bond each other because of our differences. So I think it shows how important it is and to me, that's why travel is very important in the end, because what is unfortunate is that today traveling became something related to influencers, that luxury, you know, is like, it became that thing that if you say you're a travel content creator, it's not associated with super positive aspects, I would say. People are like, oh yeah, you're a presumptuous person that don't want to do a proper job, you know, and they just want to travel around and consume.
Yeah, you have a lot of money and you want to show off and, you know, project a very, you know, glamorous life. Yes. That's the impression you get. And
I mean, then ultimately, like in Europe, for example, there is this program called Erasmus for universities, you know, for traveling to other countries to study. And this is amazing. It's like, it allows you to, it's probably one of the foundations of the European identity. And often when people ask me, how do I identify myself? Do I identify to the village I was born, or to the region, the country? I like to say I feel European, because to me, I love diversity of Europe. Like, and when I meet Europeans, even though they speak different language from Spain or from Germany or Italy, there is something that we have in common. Like, so that's how I see it. And when I went to Hong Kong, I went on an exchange. It was my first dream. It was like, now I have this new dream of the YouTube channel. But before, it was, I want to live the experience of being a student abroad. I really wanted that. And to be in, was very strong. Like, it was nothing shallow. That's the term I was looking for. Today, like, travel content is associated with shallowness. This experience was not at all. It was like really never speaking your own language. You even get annoyed by it at some point. You're like, you cannot communicate full potential.
Right.
And you meet all these people from different cultures, and you meet the other people that are like you. So they are not in their country, they're abroad.
Right.
But they are different cultures. So you already experience something with them. And then you experience the locals. So you have so many layers of what you're. I remember I was sharing my room with the guy from China. And he was from Hong Kong. He was from a place close to Shanghai. And also he was teaching me something about China, and that was something that I couldn't in Hong Kong, for example, and that was very interesting on our cultural exchange. And we were sharing the room, so we had two beds in the room. So you really like intimate with the other person. It was amazing for me to speak with that person, his way of seeing life, and that's part of travel for me. These aspects, you know, maybe traveling is just about finding a job in another country. It's not necessarily holidays or backpacking. So yeah, and I like to stay as well longer in the same place, because it allows you to dig a bit deeper, like in the place.
Exactly. You want to feel the place.
That's essentially what I'm doing in Mexico right now, because my girlfriend is from Mexico. So this is my base. I'm going to live here now. And of course, I come back to Switzerland regularly, but it's kind of my new base. And that's what allowed me to learn Spanish. It's what allowed me to also make friends here. So I also love discovering a culture on a deeper aspect because when you stay short time because you're backpacking, it's one of the other experiences of traveling. Like I remember it was also amazing to backpack in Vietnam, for example. But then you're always on the surface, you know, you go to Vietnam and then you go to another country, into another country, into another country, and you're always in this fresh aspect, which is great. And I think just, yeah, we should find the right combinations, like a bit of that and a bit of deeper.
Absolutely. You know, you said you identify as a European. You know, that's how you think of yourself. But then I would say, you know, I'm a citizen of the world, right? I just happen to be Indian. Like I just happen to be born here. You know, that's the color of my skin. But honestly, like I wouldn't mind anywhere in the world, right? And I think you get one life, and it's important to embrace people from like from all over, and there's so much that you learn from them. Like you've lived, like, I think you're about what, 30-35 years. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 30. Yeah,
30. Yeah, so we're about the same age.
yeah.
So whatever you've learned in those 30 years, so you kind of imparted that to me. So I've got 30 years of your wisdom, so to speak, and that only happens from like engaging and interacting with people. Like you can never get that how much ever you travel if you aren't meeting people. And I think that is so important. Like, you know, documenting it or not is secondary, but then just engaging and just, you know, conversating with them and getting not getting informative, like not trying to extract information, not trying to test your knowledge. Yeah, just trying to see, you know, where they're from, like what things are important to them, how they think, like what's the thought process, and how that compares to you, right, to your stance. Because it's completely different. Like the upbringing is different, everything is different, but then essentially you find that there is a common ground somewhere, right? And you just want to meet, you know, you meet at that middle point, and just have that connection, right? So
Yes. But when you have these kind of connections with people like you have with your friends, you know, you can have friends that have diverging opinions, you know,
right?
And that shows just opinions that that connects us, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, for example, a creator like Peter Santanello probably has given a different angle to what he does, because it's travel content, but is also a lot about issues of so he's kind of doing some kind of journalism as well, like of
investigative,
of these aspects that we're kind of talking about, right?
Absolutely.
And so I would say that maybe I don't want to do this because, or maybe the people just feel that without being too obvious, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the because again, I don't want to the subject around opinions at too intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that I'm going to make a parallel with theater, because I did a lot of like this theater. It was a big part of my life, especially improvisation theater. Right. And theater is not about thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about your body, like
your instinct,
meditation in a way. Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's why I love what we mentioned about not speaking the language, but you can still interact with body language.
Right. Gestures.
Ultimately, I wanna something entertaining to watch as well, you know, that just people are also escaping a little bit, you know, like when they watch it. And that influences as well, that comes from my way of traveling. That is a middle ground. It's not necessarily like tourism, fun.
Right.
But it's not either like deep journalism topics, because you know why? Because I'm interested in ordinary people, and also I think that ordinary people, they usually function more with their heart than with their head.
So true. Agreed.
And so I want this to reflect in my own experiences and in the videos I'm making. Because that's the reality of people, like most of them, they don't have like, I'm a bit like this sometimes when I'm drunk, I'm in a deep conversation with someone. What do you think about this? You know, and everything. And it becomes very like intellectual thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes human exchanges is more about a tap on the shoulder of the other person and just like or silence, you know. And so yeah, I want to go more on this end of things. Like I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah. You know, more into anthropology, like the study of human behaviors, the way they respond to society, the way they evolve, the way you know they go about their lives. Those are the kind of aspects, and I think Peter touches upon that a lot. And you know, he
I'm
really
trying to
brings
remove
that out in his videos.
too much like the how do you call it, the reason, the frontal precortex from what I do, and it's also not necessarily easy, you know. And it's part of not overthinking things, like.
Yeah.
And I believe you can leave a stronger, same or stronger impact by doing so.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember this Antoine Maximi, this creator, because of this interaction he had with this guy in Cambodia. I remember it way more than some debates, you know, I had heard or seen somewhere.
Yeah. That's true.
And so I don't have too much things to say or about like universality or like the cultures of the world, or of course I believe I'm a citizen of this world, but I try to feel it more in the heart than. And basically I say I identify as a human, but it's not really like I don't identify as so. It's not that when people ask me where I'm from, which happens all the time when I travel, it's just that the answer I like to give. Although I also say a lot that I'm from Switzerland, but like often when you're, this is just like specifically to my color skin, I guess, because being white in many countries they think you're American. So I just usually make the distinction, and I'm saying I know I'm European. And then from which country? Like I'm from Switzerland. But yeah, in Mexico it was funny. I had some funny, like in the last interactions I had in a small village in the mountains. I guess I will publish the video in early February. I was talking with kids and they asked me, where are you from? And there are very few tourists in this place. And so I was saying, yeah, I'm from Switzerland. I was not sure if they're gonna know where it is, you know. And they're like, oh, wow, really? Yeah, I thought you were American, you know, like and so they're like, yeah, it's like the other side of the, basically they say in Spanish, the otro lado del mar, which means the other side of the pond, of the water, you know, like
right.
The other side of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's more in that sense, you know, that I say,
yeah.
And but those interactions, you know, something I wanted to say before is that part as well of doing this is that I remember so like deeply some of the persons I met, and we all had this, I think, in our life where someone that is not necessarily important to us, but the person just said something, just one sentence, and it stuck to us, and it changed the way we think, see things.
Yeah.
And for me, the more I make encounters, the more I get those as well.
True.
And so this is amazing. Like for me, it's like, for example, I met this guy in Switzerland in one of my videos, and he's still with me now. Like I think of him, and I like who he is, like with kind of personality he has, and also think of him. And I'm like, especially when you are working, you know, spending your whole time surrounded by the same people, and usually they did the same studies. So you get very influenced of how you think and your values of the world and how you live, because you're influenced by the people around you.
Yes.
And everyone is touched by this. And so
yeah,
the big reason as well of doing what I do is that I wanted to have a diversity of people I am exposed to, because of these little sentences they will say that will influence. So it gives me a better just a better way of seeing how I want to live, or and I love that, to think about those people. They're like this Brazilian guy. I think of him from time to time. The Portuguese guy I met as well in Portugal. I also think, and some stuff he said out of the video as well, that for me connected personally, when he said he was an entrepreneur as well, and that didn't work for him because it was hard for him to manage employees, simply.
Not a people's
person. So I remember
person.
that. Then I'm like, okay, that's don't mention is like, are you able to manage employees? That could be a way you decide. Because he said, okay, it was not for me, so I started back working as an employee.
Right.
Little stuff like this, like lessons or interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's fascinating, man. And
this is easier when you speak the language, because you can go a bit further in the conversation. Like now in Spanish, I cannot get so well to that kind of level. Like
yeah, you may not understand a few words, and you may not be able to interpret them properly. But another thing, going back to Peter's videos, he was it might be a different creator, I don't recall exactly, but then I think it was one of Indigo Traveler's videos. This guy called Nick Fisher in New Zealand. He's a good friend of mine as well. And he was in Syria, right? In Syria, Lebanon. Okay. And he went. So you know what's happened, right? In Beirut with the bomb blast, and the economy is completely collapsed there. And the country is on a downward spiral, and with COVID and all that, obviously. But then Beirut, like Lebanon per se, was actually a decent economy. They were doing pretty well pre-COVID. So they were one of the top countries, like you would say a developed country for sure, right? So the mindset of the people is still of a first world country, right? But now they're down in the doldrums, right? They're now they're now really suffering. So I don't think the economy of a place or the purchasing power of a person influences whether they're rich or poor, or the way of thinking. So it's the mindset. So if you can think big, if you can think on larger terms, and if you have a better worldview, then it doesn't matter if you don't even have the money. Eventually, once you have the resources, you are going to make it big. But then, if all you can think about is doing a 9-to-5 job, and then earning some money, getting married, and then settling down, if that's all you have in mind, then how much ever you earn, you're still going to have the same mindset, right? You're not going to think beyond that. So it's also just the way people think, like their their desires and what they want to achieve. So it's so. And it has nothing to do with where they are in terms of their societal status. So it's two different things, right? Your way of thinking, the
mindset,
your way of thinking, it's so far ahead of. I mean, it's different from where you are in life.
Yeah. But definitely, and I mean, I feel very happy that. Let's say I don't feel I have the worst mindset, let's say, so I'm managed to push myself a lot. Doing the YouTube channel is part of it. And it's funny because it's a very personal thing, but of course some people can help you. And but I think this is interesting what you said in Lebanon, because especially your parents, for example, like if your parents are educated, let's say like my father, for example, my father did university and he became a journalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can say has a high level of education. And my mom didn't go to university, but she did a high school degree and she read a lot of books in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she was an art restorer. So they do interesting, stimulating jobs. Like, and actually, what happened to me is that I was very bad at school. Actually, I don't like too much my childhood. I would say. I mean, up to 10 years old, yes, but after like between 10 and 20, I would never go back to that part of my life because I was shy, but not so shy. I was more like traumatized, more kind of shyness, you know, like. And,
you develop an inferiority complex because you're not doing well.
Yeah,
at
exactly.
School
Low self-esteem, especially. Because I suck at school.
Yeah.
I was given everything, you know, like my parents were giving me a good education. They, you know, because it that as well, and success.
Yeah.
But even and in a rich country, you know, like Switzerland, so but still, you know,
you didn't enjoy it.
Like,
you didn't enjoy studying.
I hated school. Like I hated. It was not a pleasure for me to study, you know. And I felt I was how to say, like lazy. And so I ended up working on carpentry because it's very common in not common to do carpentry, but it's common in Switzerland and in Germany, by the way, as well, to do apprenticeship. So instead of doing high school, you after when you finish basically school, obligatory school at 15, 14, 15. And then you can do what you call an apprenticeship, where you work in a company and you also have 1 day per week.
Right, you do it along with your studies. Yeah.
Yes, but the big part is being in a company working. And so I did the manual work. I did carpentry. It was not exactly carpentry because I was working with metal, so it was not wood. It was metal on the roof. So everything that is metal on the roof. And I had a complex of inferiority because my parents had succeeded better than me, basically.
Yeah.
But you could say that there's no shame of being a blue collar worker, you know?
Exactly.
And that's what I was. But the problem was not, is it shameful to be a collar worker or not? The problem is that the work is difficult and you're not in a stimulating environment. Because I mean, all my colleagues, they were either for being retired or they were waiting for the holidays. They were waiting to earn the lotto, como se llama, how is it called, the lotto? The
wages.
When you, like casino, you know, when you play, you buy.
The
millions.
Got it. Yeah. The
different names, different countries. Yeah, tombola, exactly. Yeah. So, and they do that a lot because they hope that one day they will get rich by that way, and that is going to improve their life.
Lottery is good. Yeah.
And those are like difficult mindsets, you know, like way of seeing stuff. And for me, it was very difficult to be in that environment. So, especially, I guess, since when my family, you know, but and that I never gave up to the idea of maybe doing something different later. I was pretty sure I was going to end up being a blue collar worker my whole life, but I didn't. Let's say I didn't want to be happy with that. I was like, I prefer to be sad, not satisfied. And so eventually, when I finished my apprenticeship, I worked 2 more years in that field. And then I went to London to learn English because I was like, English, I really wished I could speak English. I couldn't speak. I was 18 back then. I couldn't speak any English. So I was like, I really want to speak English because that would be really useful. You know? But I suck at studying. I will never be able to learn English. So I was like, okay, I heard everyone told me that when you're in another country, you learn the language in any case.
Yeah.
So I would just did that. That was also one of my amazing travel experiences. And I was like 6 weeks, I think, in London in a school. Yeah. And my father helped me as well to pay the fees. And so I learned English like when I was there. And actually, it was better than that, is that I liked studying for the first time in my life.
Because you were learning something
So
you liked. That was the reason.
I don't know. It was like after so many difficult years working on construction sites, were very hard, difficult people, and suddenly to be in such a nice environment, with young people like from all over the world, like smiling, happy about their life,
Right.
that made everything, just my life was much better. So of course, and I mean, I didn't have to study that much actually, because you were practicing during the class and you're practicing outside in the life. I didn't have to do vocabulary. There was no obligations, at home.
Mm-hmm.
So that reconciled me with the studying. And after that, I knew I wanted to go back studying. So that was very hard work, but that's where my self-esteem went up as well, because I managed to get to university at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'm telling all that because what you said before is that the mindset and like and I know other people from back then that did as well carpentry, and a lot of them they have kids and all, and so, but did they fail? I don't know. I don't think they necessarily had the inferiority complex I had, because maybe their parents are also blue collar workers.
Yeah.
So it's more for them. But they are
And
not super
that's
happy
probably
really
also,
about
their aspiration. That is what they wanted to become in life. Like they wanted to be carpenters or blacksmiths. And they didn't see beyond that, right? So they didn't really open their minds up. So since that was their only goal in life, they were oblivious to everything else. So unlike you went into that, like you saw it, you were like, this is not the end of it. There must be so much more. And that's when you started exploring. That's when you really found yourself. And that's when you really learn, because like you said earlier, when you were in school, there was no reason why you should have done badly, because you had the resources, you had all the best schools, the best instruments, all the facilities were provided. But then at that point in life, you were being forced to do something that your heart and soul is not ready to accept. It is being imposed on you. Right. You probably like to study, but you didn't enjoy. You like to learn, but you didn't enjoy the idea of studies. Because the subjects were not interesting to you, or the way it was being taught, like the system that was in place, and the constant exams, the constant assessments. That's what really bogs you down. But that doesn't make you a bad student, right? It's only speaking of you at that point of time, right? So you probably love to learn about the world, update yourself with current affairs and all that, but you don't like the content that is being taught in schools, right? So that's why.
No, totally.
Yeah.
I remember when I was like 12, something like that, when you really was not going well at school, and I was like, it's kind of a moment defining a bit, like, either you make it or not, like,
should I drop out?
Maybe not drop, but it's like, am I going to be going the lower, sector of where the only thing you can do after is manual work, or am I going to get
what am I going to end up as?
And when you think about it, at 12 is a bit difficult to define your destiny,
It's a bit too early.
It's too early, and the system is based on that, at least in Switzerland. I think it's a bit different, like in other countries, like France, for example, they make sure everyone get to high school, like, but my thought back then was, I know that if now I'm not studying, my life is gonna suck in the future. I knew it rationally, but I couldn't. So it was a super negative thinking that I was seeing my fate being dark, and I couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
And I think that is a vicious circle, actually, because
true.
It becomes so negative.
That because you can't get out of it.
Even study.
You don't have a choice but to be within the system, and you're basically in the same environment, in the same class, like with the same students and the same teacher, and then you're like, how do I get better at this? I'm not liking where I am. And you want
Yeah, and I
some
was
change.
not even, I think it's already a progressive thought of thinking, how can I get better? Like,
Yeah.
even there, usually you're like, I'm just cannot do it,
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's when the idea of never giving up, that's when it kicks in. You're like, I have to get through it, however hard it is, because
one thing that
that's
helped
the
me
only
is
way.
one teacher told me, sometimes people wake up later. And that's what happened to me. I woke up at 16, 17 years old when I was struggling and working in carpentry. It's when I woke up, and up to now, it's what motivates me to work harder, because I'm like, I don't want to end up back there, like, and I think some of us, we need to suffer, get better life as well. I think
you tend to
at least
learn
the only
things the
thing I was
hard way.
conscious of.
Yeah.
Or at least I had this in me. I was like thinking when I was like 13 or something like that. I was like, okay, I'm in the lowest part of school, like I suck, but I think suffering would help me. I want to suffer. I was thinking that in my head, a bit.
Yeah.
Living something difficult, that is good. That is the only thing that is going to help me motivate myself, and that's what happened. But the suffer was real, like, and it's different, I think, to suffer 2 weeks because your parents told you, okay, well, I'm gonna work on building roads to see what it is, because that it's just 2 weeks after you come back to your better life. It was more like there was a risk that this could be my whole life. So longer, and but it is my biggest achievement on a personal level, and of course it's interesting to share. Like,
and I'm sure that you have a lot more respect for people in blue collar jobs now, people who make roads and
for sure,
work in in the metal industry, because
and I mean that's why also I'm interested.
You've seen it firsthand
in ordinary people, and that's why I'm more interested in I see a lot of value in all these people, like because they just didn't have the chance, or they didn't have the strength to make a more bigger potential of what they can do, but most of them are very like knowledgeable on a different level, inside them, they know what it is to help someone. They know how much you should help someone and take care of yourself. Like this kind of stuff, that are the core of life. Like.
True. Another thing is people who have little, right? Who have fewer resources, who have the least amount of money and whatever else. They are the ones who live the smartest, because they still go on with their regular lives. They still have houses. They still have a kitchen. They still make their own food and all that, and they're doing all that with like 1/10 of your income. So basically, 90% of what you have is not provided to them, and they still lead like pretty much a normal life. So that's where I think the human the human the nature, the ability of the fight for survival. You just find a way out. You just find a way out, because you can't give up at any stage. Even if you have like $1 today, you would spend that on getting water, because without water you're gonna die. Maybe food you last 2-3 days, right? So you do what's necessary in that moment, and that's really that survival instinct.
If that happens to someone, like, and if the life gets better after, it's not going to be a good memory, but it's going to be a memory. I guess.
And it's all experiences at the end of the day. So now that you've been through that hardship, it can only get better from there, right? And
for sure,
you're always going to remind yourself that I've survived on with nothing in my hand, And now, I may not have a job with me, but I still have some money. So that's still, it'll get me through the day. So it's not as bad as what I was, 2-3 years down, before.
It helps to take more risk as well, because you're not as scared to lose what you have, because you were not supposed to have what you have in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can make a parallel. My life is not too tough. Like is on a much higher level, but it's just that, for example, I didn't do a master because I wanted to take the risk of doing what I do now typically. But most of my friends at university, they were like, "Oh my God, like a master, is like I'm gonna lose, my whole life is gonna, break."
Yeah.
Too risky, like you have to take more like security, like maximum level of education. And but for me, at some point, I was like, if I wait more, I'm gonna be old and I will never do these things.
Right.
And I was never going to supposed to go to university. That's why I always thought of myself. Like I envisioned myself to be a carpenter. So from there, university was like a
huge upgrade. Yeah.
But it was an upgrade. But it was have not happened. I'm not too attached to it. Like
right.
Although it's super important to what it helps tremendously, but to have stopped it after 3 years of bachelor, to me was enough.
Yeah.
People can stop even before sometimes, and they have very successful projects after in their life as well.
Yeah. It doesn't define you as a person.
No. But a lot of people define themselves, about what they studied and.
Yeah. I find that really shallow, that, you get a degree and you're like, people, especially the ones who do a doctorate in medicine, or say accountants or lawyers and all that. They want to brag about, I've done my master's in law, I've studied from Harvard, I've studied at Stanford and whatnot. But then, that's well and good. But then that's not all there is to life, right? You've just done a course. Yeah, good for you. But I mean,
they are pursuing the social status.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I think that's a very shallow
way.
The social
status is important to you is because you don't have other things or few other things in life.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like yeah.
like you're kind of stuck with that, right? You haven't moved on from there. Like you've done that course and then you want to brag about that for the rest of your life. Like that's your only achievement. Like I don't buy into that ideology at all. Like, okay, fine. Yeah. But a lot of people do that.
Yeah. But I don't know how is your case. Do you feel you're in that still, or you're like you went out to get out of this, or?
No. So I'm a cost accountant. I was I was working at a firm of chartered accountants for about 6 years, and then I dropped out of that, and then I started this course. So I have like a finance background, and I'm doing pretty well for myself. Like I would say, at my age, I'm I'm a finance controller at this IT company called Unisys, and that's a global company, and I'm doing pretty well. I would say, like, people with a job like mine, they don't necessarily have time for a lot of other things that they do. But then I'm like, first of all, we have limited time, right? And I'm like, spend every day like to the best of its potential. And now there are so many things you can't do. Like in my mind, I had planned to make a trip to Dubai to see the expo in Jan, because it's ending in March.
Okay.
And everything was set. Like I had friends there, and they were like, you can come and live with me, so you don't have to spend on rent. And he had passes as well, so I could like just go with him. I didn't have to spend anything, basically just the flight tickets. And Omicron happened, and I can sit here and cry and whine about it, that Omicron happened, and and now, you know, it's the
Yeah.
third wave, and there's nothing else. But then I was like, yeah, I think, you know, I did YouTube, you know, I do a lot of community service, like I teach kids on the weekends, and I'm also on the CSR council. So, you know, we work with a lot of NGOs. So I do that for my company and at a personal level. So I volunteer for about 25 different NGOs around the world. Like I support few causes abroad as well, like few in Nepal and Australia, in Wollongong.
Yeah.
So I do all of that, and I'm like, you know, now of course I can't travel, right? So I'm like, let's start a podcast, right? So this was
Yeah,
one thing I
yeah.
had in mind. Yeah, so this was one thing I had in mind, and I was like, podcast about what, right? So that's obviously the next thing. So I'm like, I don't have to limit it to anything, right? So let it be. I just want to focus on the people, right? It's about the guests that I bring on the show, because they are the story, right? I don't need a content. I don't need a topic or anything. I don't have to discuss on something, you know, the geopolitical situation in the European Union. Like I don't need that kind of a story, because you've
Yeah.
got a different source
Yeah.
for that. Like you can find that anywhere on the internet. You don't need to come and listen to this. But then you want to learn about Benoi, right? You want to, like, I'm sure you're going to enjoy listening back to this. And
Of
even
course.
me,
Yeah.
like, yeah, when I run like half marathons as well, like just for fitness. So I was like, when I run those marathons, I mean, when I do those workouts, I was like, I want to listen to content that I've created. So I'm like, let me create episodes that become content for me, right? So that's when, you know, the validation and all that adds up. Like for me, I do it for my personal reasons. I do it because it's a database for me. It is something that I can access, you know, at a later stage. And people
Yeah.
liking it or not is, you know, it's subjective, right? People might be like, dude, your videos are too long, you know, you don't have enough energy, you know, you should come with scripted content. Everyone's got their opinions. But this is what
Yeah.
I really want to do. This is what makes me happy. This is what comes naturally. And you know, I think I won't be true to myself if I listen to them and follow, you know, what they're suggesting. So this is, you know, something that just happened, because if I'd made that trip to Dubai, maybe
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had time to do all of this. And you
No,
know,
of course.
everything happens for the good. Yeah, everything happens for the good at the end of the day. And now, you know, I can see that this really has potential, because, you know, if I'm talking to someone for the first time, and, you know, having a good interaction. And this is something that I've heard from my prior experience as well. From my earlier company, I was with McAfee for about 4.5 years. And there, you know, people would tell me,
Okay.
like, on the Teams calls, and when I engage with stakeholders abroad, especially, on my last day, you know, one of my colleagues told me that, you know, Alden really has the ability to interact with people, right? So I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, dude, I think, yeah, I mean, that never really struck me, but I was like, yeah, I think because my work calls were kind of like fun. You know, every time we would meet after a month, you know, the work would happen anyway, but then people would be like, oh, dude, we get to catch up with this guy. Like, let's see what's going on in his life. Like, how's he doing, and you know, what's up. You know, like that was my mindset. So I used to like delegate the work to the other guys, and then I used to like just chat with the other stakeholders, right? Because you're meeting after a month. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that was,
Well, it's
you know,
amazing, like
kind of my
to
thing. Yeah.
like the way you made that podcast as well, and like this motivation. I find it great. Like to you can even create your own content. You know, like you're gonna even consume after.
True. True.
I think that's what people are gonna like as well. In the end. And
Yeah.
there was this
Yeah.
viewer that made this comment on one of my videos, like it was super true, and I forgot. It was like, who cares about what people want as request of content? Is more if you do what you love, people will feel it, will like it as well, no? And the ones
Yeah.
that don't, they can go somewhere else.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, that's when you have the answer to the why question, right? It's clear cut in your mind. So because that's a very weak premise when you're sustaining yourself on validation. You know, 10 videos might be good, but if you have like 100 hate comments on one video, you're going to be like, dude, something's wrong. Like, I need to go back to what I was doing earlier. Maybe something's wrong with me. And then you start doubting yourself as to, what have I done? And, where have I lost my path? Right? Because they connect with a certain type of content, and then you're basically presenting a hypocritical personality, because you're like, you're trying to make content that suits them, and then somewhere along the line you've lost the plot, right? So you got to be very clear of what you're trying to achieve, and what you're trying to do, and then connect with that, like, every step of the way. Because I don't think there are a lot of podcasts like doing what I am doing as well. Like, I'm picking ordinary people, right? I've got like a bunch of friends lined up, so I don't need like great people who've achieved things in life or anything. Like, I can, in fact, I should tell you this. My dad he's worked for IBM for about 22 years now, and he's at a very senior position. So he's retiring this year, like towards the end of this year, because he's 58 and that's the retirement age. So, and, I don't really talk to him a lot. Like, I'm close to my mom, but then with my dad, it's more professional, right? If I need some help with my taxes, or, there's something important, then we chat. So I want to talk to him about his entire career. Like, he's had a proper working life, about 35, 40 years. And I want to make that as a podcast, So
that's great.
Yeah.
Like documentary. They say documentary filmmaking is a lot about access to people.
Yeah.
And so the relationship you have with your dad might be able to get him to say some stuff that someone he doesn't know will not be able to get him to say.
Right.
Or not, but
and it might help a lot of people as well. Who knows? The ones who listen.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's part of what we both do, like a person might have amazing things to share, no?
Right. And what's funny is, sometimes when you make, like, especially interactive videos, that you might find something that's important to you, or something meaningful that you've said, but then people might catch on to very subtle aspects, something random, and they might be like, dude, that really meant a lot. Like, I like that. And you're like, yeah, dude, that was a passing comment. Like, I didn't mean that so profoundly.
But that is super interesting. Like, I experienced this as well, like from not so long ago. Like, I just say something, or like commenting even stuff that I haven't seen. For example, did you see the sex workers behind you? Like, they were hiding their faces. I didn't even notice.
Exactly.
I noticed when I was filming, and I didn't notice when I was editing. So it's cool because it shows that people are really paying attention to the content.
Yeah. And it's all reality, right? It's all, what's going on in the real world. You haven't created a film set, or, you haven't planned any of this. So you're just in the midst of whatever is happening. And
yeah.
And everything that comes with it, you're trying to embrace that and capture that moment.
And something that I wanted to ask you, and it's funny because it's like you were exchanging roles a bit, no? Like do you know other people that are like you, like doing this kind of projects or doing something different, let's say, than just a regular?
Yeah, so one of my I wouldn't say motivation, but someone I look up to is my nephew, right? The guy who messaged you.
Yeah.
The guy's like 13 years old, dude. The guy's 13 years old, and he's been making YouTube videos since 2016. And he's been on Instagram like for the longest time. He's got like 33,000 views on his podcast. Okay.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And that's pretty good. Like, he makes so much content, man. And so he's but obviously, someone of 13 is not really thinking at high levels, right? He's just making episodes because he wants to put out content. So that is his motivation. So
But it's
it's
very
not.
interesting to me that to have also a different kind of perspective like this one. Like the questions he would ask would be very different than
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
ask.
yeah. In fact, I was a bit angry with him
It's
because
funny
I was
because
like,
yeah.
yeah.
No, he
So
texted me and then I think he deleted the comment because I didn't find it in my
yeah,
messages.
yeah, because I warned him. I was like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't, message strangers, because what I wanted him to understand is, it's like I'm leaking out information, and then you don't want to like get these random DMs, and that might affect my chances, right? You might back out from this because like you don't trust me now. You're going and giving your details to like random
Yeah.
people, and then they're chasing you, and who knows, we might be monetizing it, we might be using your content to get money or something like that.
I mean, remember that you contacted me first, and it's just that I saw this other message and I was that is funny. But another question for a podcast so fast, and then I saw you guys were friends, and I just wanted to let you know because it was more by respect to you who had contacted me.
Yeah.
But, I just wanted to know like if that was okay or not.
Right.
But I really didn't mind. No, it was like for me, it was super.
Yeah, I mean, he would be thrilled, dude. He would be thrilled. Like he was so happy, and he was like pissed with me, like, dude, why can't I message him? Because he doesn't understand, right? He's still in school, so he doesn't understand how you should use information, like, because you're my contact, right? I've built a relationship with you, so it's not right for him to use to leverage my my abilities, and try to use a different channel, because that's doing it without my consent. So I mean, but now that you're cool with it, I mean, you can record another podcast with him, obviously.
The only thing I wanted to make sure is that I didn't want to snub him. Like that's the only thing that.
Yeah. But it's not like, if I had known you before, then it was cool, right? But I'm texting you for the first time, and then there's a trust issue.
No, of course.
Yeah, there's a trust issue, because I told him something, and then he's gone and messaged you. So you're like, how can I trust him with my email and the other information, because he might divulge everything, right? So those are the things like people don't understand till they enter the professional life, and that's something that's
normal.
I mean, that's his curiosity. That's his curiosity, right? So he was telling me that he had another friend, like this guy, like he thinks at such a high level, dude. He's got a production company. It's called Vivamus Productions, right? And he's got like a co-host and stuff. So this Fijian guy called Nemani, that's his friend. And today morning he texts me and he's like, dude, I'm sacking Nemani because he's slowing down my progress. So can you become my co-host? Yeah, because now he's worried because I'm caught up, right? I'm doing more episodes, so he's falling back now. So he wants his podcast also to come up to speed. So he's like, dude, Nemani is really lethargic, so I need another co-host. So can you join me midway through season 2 of my podcast? So yeah, dude, like he's such an inspiration, man. This guy, and they were living in Dubai, so they were here in Bangalore, and then they were living in Dubai. Now they're in New Zealand, in Auckland. And when he was in Dubai, like they didn't have too many friends and all that. So he sat at home and he just like watched YouTube videos, and he learned to play chess. Like he picked it up himself, and he was playing at a decent level. Like he was quite good. So I played a game with him, and it was a stalemate actually. So yeah, and this is like way back, man. This is in 2016 when he was maybe 8-9 years old. So yeah. I mean, what were we doing at that age, right?
Some people are really
Yeah. So this guy is kind of like that, And he tells me, I was asking him, did he watch the latest Spider-Man movie? Because I don't know what else to talk about on his podcast, right? And he's like, no, I hate movies, dude. All the time I'm just sitting idle and thinking about new ideas. Right. So he's that kind of guy, like he's like this little Einstein. Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure he'll have a lot of nice things to ask. I mean, different from our conversation, it'll be, kind of I don't know what he's going to ask you, but I'm sure, man.
It's only the second podcast I do since I started, and the other thing I did was it was not actually, it was a Twitch live event. and
Right.
with French guys, and it happened in similar ways. Like also contacted on Instagram, blah blah. It's interesting
Yeah.
because they had a very different way of approaching than you. Like
Mhm.
I mean, they were like two interviewing me, and they were like ta 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 with the questions.
Yeah.
It's like super interesting to see the different styles and.
Right. Right. So what was the topic about? Like, what were they asking you
I
about?
mean, they were in a sense they were also very large. They don't have like a specific because originally their channel is about gaming. But from what I understood
Uh-huh.
is that they didn't have a subject for the week, and one of the guy in
Okay.
the team that I was talking with proposed them, oh, I know this traveler, like we could do with that with something with that. And
Yeah.
because they are super open on the topics, we did on that.
Yeah.
But obviously, we talked about different. They were also like curious of how I produce my videos, like maybe
Hmm.
more technical stuff. Like we looked as well.
Yeah.
I did some 3D scanning as well on one of my videos, one of my projects.
Hmm.
So they were very interesting in these aspects as well.
Nice, nice, man. That's the thing, that, no, let me show you, now that we are almost about to end, let me show you my homepage on Anchor. Oh God, I've got a
Yeah.
bunch of emails, dude. uh,
I think you can publish even that video if you want. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me see how it's turned out. So Neil is going to edit my videos like my nephew. So I'll work with him and I'll take his call, right? Because he's my manager. So let him decide what's right for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. My girlfriend just texted me and she's like, "Don't forget to eat." It's true that I need to go to the bathroom and I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. So this is like my homepage, and this is the description because I had to mention something for the podcast, right? So I just googled what a conversation means, and this is what I
Okay.
got. This is the definition. So it's a talk, especially an
So,
informal one between two or more people, in which news and ideas are exchanged, right? So it's basically limitless. It can be anything, right?
but it has an angle that is informal.
Yes, yes. Especially an
It's
informal one.
very
So it's not like it can't be formal, but especially,
Is the difference between an interview, for example,
yeah, an interview, exactly. An interview, a
Yeah.
debate, a group discussion. Those are all formal conversations. Yeah. And, I had to change the spelling because my initial idea was to have the conventional spelling, but then Neil was like, no, there's already a podcast with conversation, like with S. So I was like, let me
Yeah.
make it Z.
That's cool. It actually looks nicer. I think it's like
Yeah,
it
and even
becomes
the
more a brand.
pronunciation.
Like
Yeah, the pronunciation is actually conversation. Like you say it with a Z, not an S.
yeah, conversation.
Yeah,
I say conversation. Maybe
it depends
sounds
on
like
on different dialects. Yeah, nice man.
amazing. Like
So,
so, is it the first podcast or you made others?
I've done one with Neil actually. So that was my first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is my second one now.
Nice, nice. Very
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just getting started. Uh, so that's kind of how I am, in general. I don't prepare much for whatever I do. Like,
Mhm.
you mentioned about your study life as well, right? I realized that the more I kind of prepared myself, the more psyched out I got, the more worried I was, and I wouldn't be able to
Mm,
perform well, right? So my thing
no,
is
that's
more
true.
like, yeah, just have a rough idea and then kind of improvise because when you prepare, the pressure is all the more on you to perform. So I
Yeah,
just kind
yeah.
of, yeah, I like to get into it with an open mind and then
No,
just see where it takes you.
totally.
Yeah, that's
No,
kind of the way
I
I
was
do things.
at some point I was thinking, think how can I earn money, while I'm growing the channel. And I contacted this radio, in Switzerland, and I proposed them to do a travel show.
Yeah.
And but it quickly turned into something very scripted to write, and I feel exactly
Mm.
what you said, like the pressure and everything. And I was like, oh, I don't like this. I need to. But it made me. It was good because it made me realize I stopped it, and I was like, okay, I really just want to focus on YouTube channel, you know, or at least I will
Yeah.
not do this kind of other content.
It's not fun. Like it's got to be fun. You know, the things that you do as a hobby, it,
Yeah.
it should be unlike work. I mean, the ultimate thing in life is to make work fun, right? If you can do both, like if you're obsessed about football and if you can become a footballer like professionally, then then that there's nothing like that, because that's a meeting of a nice marriage to have, right? But not all of us are that fortunate.
My theater teacher said that he's like saying an actor should never forget to also enjoy acting, you know.
True.
And it's so logical, you know, because if an actor doesn't enjoy what he's doing, you can feel it. So
exactly. Yeah. I think that's the main thing.
So,
you
it is important.
You gotta have fun. Yeah, you gotta have fun. End of the day.
You know, it's funny. In Switzerland, it would probably a lot of people wouldn't like that idea. Like you cannot be productive and have, you know.
Right.
It's funny. It's like it's cultural. I feel in the US they might have more this kind of mindset. You know, of course you can. Doesn't matter. You know, you can have fun or anything as long as the results are there. You know.
Yeah. And also, you know, when you're having fun, you're less conscious about the results. You're like, you know, I'm doing it in, you know, for enjoyment anyways. So if it works out and if it comes out great, if people like it, then well and good. If not, you still had a good time, right? If you're all serious, you're like, dude, this episode has to get like 100,000 views, or this has to be on the top of the search ratings and all that. Then you've got that, you know, you're already tense, you're already worried and anxious about making it happen.
Yeah. No, that's true. But at the same time, you have to, I mean, if you want to do this more, you have to make a living of it. It's like, what is it hard, you know? It's like, or is your hobby and you have another source of income.
Yeah.
I have friends that from theater school that followed the professional path of becoming an actor. But I was like, I don't want to do that because that's typically something that I want to keep as a hobby, you know, going to an improv class just for enjoying it, you know, don't have to make money with this. It's going to be the best.
Yeah.
But I have to say that I want to make money with the YouTube channel and without losing myself. But
yeah, you know, somewhere down the line, it's good. It's good if you make money out of it, but then you know, you don't want it to really change who you are. And
no.
Yeah, because then, you know, you're trying to leverage that skill, right? You're trying to use your YouTube, you know, use that content to make money, and then that becomes a job for you. So that becomes something that you're doing, and that's how you know, you've got that pressure of getting views. If not, you know, you don't you know, you can't put food on the table, right? So you don't want to get into that situation. You know, you want, of course. Yeah, you want to be able to have a normal life. It might
be difficult because as you grow, you might be like, okay, I have enough money now to live because I am a big YouTuber. That might be the most difficult moment where you're like to resist, to want more and just enjoy what you do. And I think someone like Harald Boulder is a bit like that, where he said you could probably get even more subscribers and all, but he doesn't want to do the video and they are like 1 hour long, you know, like people are complaining about it, but that's what he likes to do, you know, like
yeah. I mean, now his content's a bit crazy, dude. Like all his videos are close to 1 hour long, and I feel they don't have, it's not making much sense. Like he's just rolling the camera for no reason. So yeah, off late I've kind of noticed that with his Himalaya videos, and yeah, that's what makes him happy. And you know, fun fact, I joined one of the causes. Like, I don't know if you've seen his Nepal series, where he's covered this hospital. Yeah, he's covered this cancer hospital.
I heard a lot about it. I saw on TikTok a bit, but I didn't see much.
There's this guy called Sunil Shrestha in it. And they've started this thing called the Leo Foundation. So that was in memory of their son. That was in memory of their son who died. He had brain cancer. So he died when he was 6 months old. His name was Leonardo. And they created a foundation in his name And the mission of that foundation is to provide treatment and accommodation for kids with pediatric cancer all around Nepal. Right, so they use the government support, and then once that is exhausted, the foundation pays for their treatment and keeps them at their they call it the Leo homes, or the Leo houses, Leo apartments or something like that, and they keep them there till they get well, and then they keep posting monthly updates of how they are doing and how they've recovered. And then once they're in remission, and once they can leave the quarters, they they say that the students have graduated, the kids have graduated, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then a few of them, obviously they can't make it and then they pass away. But what I do for them is I create awareness. So whenever I do my workouts, like when I run my half marathons and all that, they had this thing called 365 miles a year, right? So you do that distance, and then on every run or every walk of yours, you can tag them and share a story on Instagram. So people learn about the foundation, and at the same time you're kind of promoting fitness and good health and all that.
Yeah.
And I heard about the foundation only through Harold's videos. So what happened was, when Harold landed in Nepal, he met Sunil at the airport, right? And these guys got chatting.
It was planned?
No, it wasn't planned. It wasn't planned. So they were just waiting in line.
Yeah.
And then Harold got chatting, and Sunil was like, I'm going to this cancer hospital, and Harold needed content, right? So he went to the hospital, and then he saw what's going on, and then that video, like I'll send you the link, you can watch it. That video is really emotional, because Harold was like, there was this kid who was going to get his chemo, and he was like, he was depressed. He had no motivation to live, and he was like, he wasn't even able to walk, so he was just looking down the whole time. So Harold, he kind of blesses him. He's like, he pats him on his shoulder, and he's like, be strong, you'll get well soon and all that. And then they come out of the hospital, then they go for a walk, right? And then this guy explains the background, right? Sunil tells him what the foundation's all about, how they got started, and what his vision is. And at that time, it was really in the infancy. I don't think they had even registered the foundation. Like now they've got like a proper Section 8 license, and they can accept donations and all that. So they were not even sure like whether this is going to be, something big, or, what it's going to become. But they wanted the legacy to live on, right? They've lost their son, but then they wanted, his name to be known in the world. So, they go walking around this well outside, and then he explains to him, and then this guy is moved, right? So Harold's like, he has the skill like Harold. If you've seen his other videos as well, he finds people are really deserving. So he finds these artists and these buskers and these people like living on the streets who really deserve to have money, and then he buys something off them. Right. He buys a painting, or he buys like some artwork, and he asks them to play a song, and then he gives them a lot of money, like he gives them 1,000 euros or something like that, which will really transform their lives. And he also ensures that they're spending it on the right purpose. So they were done talking, and then they were about to leave, and then this guy he just takes out $1,000 and he puts it in his hand, right? And Sunil's like, he doesn't know how to react. He's like, dude, are you serious? This is a lot of money. Like, are you really giving me that? Yeah. And then, Harold's like, yeah, dude, take it. And then he takes it. And then that video, I mean, even that post on Facebook has like, insane shares, dude. That has like some 100K, 200K shares. And that video is like really gone viral. And Harold did like a 1-to-1 donation. So he had a fundraiser, and then that raised like, I think about 500K. And then Harold matched that donation. So Harold made another 500K, and then they raised 1 million for the charity. So Harold's been like a massive boost, man. Like he's really, taken it to the next level. And even recently he had gone to the US. Harold went to the US, and then he met Sunil again. And Sunil was so sweet. Like he knows that I support the cause a lot. So he got Harold to call me, and we had a video call, right? So I got to talk to Harold, but there was like a problem with the audio, so we couldn't talk much. But I've made an Instagram post about that as well, like, you know, how it's come full circle, right? As a subscriber, you know, I was just watching his videos, and now, you know, he's calling me back. Like, that's a big deal for me. So
no, it's great. He's not a small now. He's like a big one. Yeah.
He's not small, dude. Like, and you know that's the thing. Like, when you support causes and when you do things genuinely, eventually you'll have a payback at some point. You know, but you know, don't just focus on the returns. You know, focus on the cause. Focus on why you're doing it. Like, focus on the reason.
But this is amazing, huh? When you see what the type of content Harald makes, you know, is like is almost one shot sometimes. Like there's no cuts, and it goes completely at the opposite of what people are telling you to do when you make content in 2022. You know?
Exactly.
And still, it's so authentic, it's so real, and that touched people. And I guess that's what the impact you see it now. I guess is also this is also because he makes money through the advertising of YouTube, and he's able to make that impact after.
Right.
I think is a nice demonstration that entertainment is not necessarily shallow. By enjoying people, you can create some other kind of impacts. Like it's great.
Yeah, I feel that's kind of like a derogatory term. I mean, entertainment, you think about it like dancing and, you know, doing things, you know, has a sensual connotation to it. But then it's more about creation. It's more about creation, right? It's more about producing something that isn't available and, you know, is authentic and ingenious, right? Presents a part of your personality, right? I mean, it's easy. Podcast, I mean, even making blogs for that matter, dude, it's not that hard. Like, I can list down a bunch of questions and then keep asking you one by one, right? Anyone can do that. But then, you know, how does that differentiate me from, you know, any of the other million podcasts on Spotify? Like, it's exactly the same. And even you wouldn't watch that beyond a point. Like, when you're listening back to it, you're like, okay, this guy's asking me scripted questions. Like, who wants that?
No, but now I'm realizing even more it makes the podcast amazing. Probably.
See, because even we are here now, like, we're the subjects of this conversation, but honestly, even we don't know where it's going. So, you know, that's what I say even in my trailer, right? I want to focus on I'll show you the script I've written for my trailer. So now I'm leaking my trade secrets with you.
Okay, a blank page. No, I don't know. Still some stuff. Intro. Okay.
So this one, right? So it says, "Welcome to Conversations." It's spelled that because I said so. So this is a show about nothing in particular, right? It is an attempt to get into the subtleties of the art of interactions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what it's about. It's you know, it's the conversation itself. That is the content. There is no topic as such.
It's funny because your angle is, you could say that your angle is more, or your editorial line is more on the form than the content.
Yeah. It's more on the form. Yeah. So in the process, we may touch upon a few shades of the personalities of the guest, because I can't get to know Benoi like completely. I'm just touching upon, you know, few shades that we're discussing, right? There might be so much else that we could talk about.
I know I shared you probably the most important aspect of my life with the carpentry, you know.
Yeah.
And I think now the new super important aspect of my life is my relationship, and my love relationship with my girlfriend.
Right.
It's like the other aspect, and I forgot what I wanted to say, but I think we talked nice.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm actually very glad that you reached to me as well. I mean, because of course it
Yeah,
makes me feel good when someone says
yeah. You know,
this is top prime content. The fact
yeah,
that you said that is reassuring for me as well. That maybe even if because I have I have like less than 300 subscribers right now, so
yeah.
it's like very
You know, for me, it's
yeah,
not. Yeah, I think by now you know that I don't give a shit about the views at all. Like it's all about what is this guy trying to achieve. Like I know that you're getting started, but I like where you're headed. Like right, I like your
yeah,
direction. I like where you're trying to go because I know eventually you're going to get better because everything takes needs practice. You're not going to be a
yeah,
perfectionist on day one. But I like the intent, and that's why I told you that because even with Peter, right, I love the type of content that he's making because very few people focus on the human beings or the personalities of the individuals. They're all about yeah, I'm in Pakistan, dude. I'm in Afghanistan. I'm in Iraq. It's all about the place. It's all about the country. But very few people get deep into
It's
the
funny because
individuals.
we didn't mention it directly, but there is right now a niche on YouTube of road travel YouTubers that started with Harald actually, and started maybe 3 years ago only. Didn't exist before, and it's
Yeah,
very different from the rest. And at the same time, now I can say we are many to do similar stuff, and we're in the same kind of niche, trying to reach this kind of people. And
yeah,
it's interesting. Like
yeah,
in a way, I feel it's also the right time to do what I do because it's gonna help to have other people that do similar stuff. Because I mean, YouTube is not free the video, so people don't have to choose between one. So,
yeah,
and what I can see online, they're often asking, "Oh, I binged all Gold and Bankrupt's content. Like, what can I watch next now?" Like, and
yes,
they want
yes,
to see other
yeah,
people doing great stuff like this.
yeah. There was this other comment I had read on this Russian girl's channel. Her name is
Mhm.
Natalia. One of those confusing names. Some over, right? I know it ends with over because that's how those
Ah,
names are.
yeah,
But then, what the comment said was, this is really what YouTube was made for, right? Because the type of content she creates is she kind of goes around the city and she doesn't talk to people, but then she shows what the streets are like. She goes into the shops, she goes into the supermarkets, and she
Mhm.
tries to basically show her daily life. How she goes buys groceries.
Mhm.
Those random videos. That is what YouTube was built for, right? For people all over the world to
Ah,
share
yeah. Yeah.
what their lifestyle is like. But then down the line somewhere it's lost its essence, and you find more of this marketing content because people were trying to make it a profession, right? And you want to like trick people into watching it by showing them
Yeah,
nice drone shots and making it attractive.
most of the yeah, but also all the informational channels that are based on on like selling stuff through affiliate links or whatever. But like
Yeah,
most of the advice was well given, all the YouTube advice for growing a YouTube channel are extremely focused on these commercial aspects of YouTube, which is
true.
more an extension of a business. More,
Yeah,
but but I hope that YouTube keeps having what you're
yeah,
mentioning, that these people like things like without a clear purpose from the beginning.
yeah. The raw content,
Yeah, I don't
because
know if
I don't
it
remember
could be also
exactly, but then
super
yeah,
mm, could be
YouTube
super
when
edited,
it was when
but
it was just started, in 2005, 2006, it
yeah,
was they had a tagline. So it was called broadcasting to the world, something like that, something on those lines. And that was
yeah,
the intention. You wanted people from all over the world to upload just
But
random
what do you say?
videos and broadcasting to the
what?
world. I think broadcasting to the world. Yeah.
To the world. Yeah,
To the world. Yeah. Something on those lines. And I don't know if you know this, but then the first ever YouTube video is of the founders, exploring a zoo, right? So there's like, you can like go, check it out now. You can like look for the first YouTube video, and that doesn't have that many views. That has like less than 1 million views, but that's the first YouTube video ever, because that shows you that they had no idea how big this is going to be, right? Now, movies are basically being released on YouTube, and people are, putting trailers out there, and they're spending millions on the production budget to create this content. Yeah. But then this guy filmed something on his camcorder, somewhere in the zoo, who knows where, and then just uploaded this 3-minute clip. That's the first YouTube video ever. So I think somewhere we should stay true to that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Also, like what's interesting about YouTube is that it's not exactly a social media, right? It's half, and there are statistics that show the impact on social media. And actually, when you look at it, they're all. Instagram is the worst. Apparently, it shows people fake life and make people feel bad.
Exactly.
And there are positive aspects as well, but the negatives overcome the positives.
True.
But YouTube is the only one that is in the and so I like this because as far as what I invest content creation, I would say.
Yeah. So it's all about the process. It's about the journey, not the destination. So it's fine. If your channel gets 1 million subscribers and all that, that's fine, that's well and good. But even if it has a few thousand, then that's still okay for me, right? I'm still happy. Like there are like 2,000 genuine people who are interested in what I do, right?
And the best is also to pursue what we wanted to do, and try, because the first thing for me would be to have never tried it. And sometimes you don't want to try something because you're scared of failing at it. You're like, I prefer to be a successful one that never did it, than taking the risk of doing it and maybe it's not successful. So in the end, even if it doesn't work, it's amazing to have tried, and
exactly
learn some stuff.
And it's an art form. It's all an art form. Like now, you're making similar videos to Peter, but it doesn't mean, I'm not going to say Benoit's videos rate 8 out of 10, Peter's 9 out of 10. You can't rate that because it's an art form, right? What you've created is according to your sensibilities, what you felt at that point of time. And Peter's done something different. You can't compare one to the other,
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because for me, it's always very difficult. Like, we're asked to be original as well, to be pioneer, whatever. And even someone I look up to, Antoine Maximi, the French guy who did this show called "I Will Sleep at Your Place." In French, is "J'irai dormir, I will sleep in your home," And he does that. So his goal is to sleep in locals' houses. But the problem is that when I look at what he does everything right to me. It's like he understood everything, So it's hard for me to do things differently because he would be going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And he himself says that when he did what he did, he wanted to do something different. He was very insisting on doing something different. But me, I don't know how to. Maybe it will come different. I don't know, or it will be different on subtleties, the personality, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't have. It's something that is more a question than an answer. I'm struggling with that idea of how can you do something different.
Yeah.
Not just doing what others are doing, but at the same time you can get some inspiration. And at the same time, as I said, there are people that even told me, Antoine Maximi is old. One day he will stop. It will be a shame. Who is going to continue?
Right.
So there's also that aspect of seeing things.
Yeah. So there's this quote I had in mind, right? As you were saying that, I don't know if someone has said it, but then the fear of the unknown, right? The fear of the unknown is what makes us feel alive.
Yeah.
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 I just kind of came up with that. But
reminds me of a video I saw called Mr. Ramesh. I don't know if you saw it. He says that it's about fear.
Yeah.
I remember I saw this video because I was in the program to build your own business, and like of course you're scared when you want to go freelance, for example. Right. But when you're scared, you feel alive. It's better to be depressed. No?
Yeah. Because when everything's predictable, then you've lost that excitement already. And that's the thing about travel. Yeah, that's the thing about travel, because with travel, you're in an unknown place. You're in an you're prone to getting robbed, or you don't know the environment around you. You don't know what cab you'll be in, like whom you're going to meet. Like you might get pickpocketed along the way. So there's so many variables involved. And
I mean, something that happens to me a lot is when I go to have some drinks with friends, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I realized recently, a couple of months ago only, that for the last 5 years, maybe, I didn't understand why I was getting tired when we were going out sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes I would just get tired super quickly, and I would start to think, I'm getting old, and someone started to point at me the answer and saying, maybe it's because you're bored, it's not like
you're bored. Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe if you were in a private jet going to Monaco, you would not feel tired. And I was trying to project myself, and I was like, I think I would still be scared to get tired, Probably that would also bore me,
Yeah.
But like something like, I don't know, a couple of months ago, I was in Mexico City, and we were in the center of Mexico City that is a bit dangerous. And I had a friend of mine that he's on my videos. Like I met him when I was visiting Calakmul.
Mm-hmm.
And then he told me, we're going to this bar, like you can. And some of my friends left the place. We were like 4, my girlfriend, me, and 2 other friends. And they were like, no, here's dangerous, we don't want to stay. And they left. And so I just stayed with my girlfriend, and then I joined my friend there. And I had an amazing night. I was like super not tired at all, because it was a bit in the hood, it was a bar with the super alive. You had guys like sitting with like sunglasses.
That novelty factor. It was something new.
The golden chain.
Different. Yeah.
I was like, you don't want to meet up with these guys, so you need to stay awake, and don't piss anyone off, but at the same time you are having a cool time, and and on the way to the bathroom, you're talking to the waiter, like I don't know, it's like, I don't know how to describe. Sometimes the ghetto is what keeps me more awake in a party, and is a good symptom of everything we're saying.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, for me, sometimes people tell me, once I'm back from my trips and all that, if you had told me, one day in advance, I would have joined you, right? But then for me, the problem is, like, when you're in a group, you have to convince people all the time. You have to explain yourself all the time. They may not agree with you, and then after a point, you're not going to enjoy it. So for me, it's like really important that it's just my ideas and what I want to execute, and that's how I want to really travel, and not have to, like, explain myself all the time, because that can take out a lot of energy from you, right? So.
But you mean traveling with other people, right?
Yeah, traveling in a group. Because everything has to be decided, where you're going to have lunch, where you're going to hang out. And those decisions are so painful, and those are pointless debates. When you can,
and you're much less likely to meet other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it was a difficult time in my life where I was splitting off from my main group of friends, because we were starting to be different, and so I was taking distance. But I ended up losing some friends as well in the process, and I didn't have a lot, or I have only fresh ones. You know, different to have a friend from a long time that you can say, oh, let's go on holidays together. Whereas a fresh friend, it would be like, that's weird. So I ended up traveling alone because that was the only thing I was like, I can do. You know? And it's part of what started to me this love for travel as well.
True.
And you could say like, yeah, you're not gonna find, if you don't find it in your own place, your happiness, you're not gonna find it at the other side of the world. But it can help you at some moment of your life still.
True. And it's not, it's not so much finding happiness. It's not the proximity. Like I could go maybe 100 miles away from my hometown and still be happy because you're discovering something new. I think it's the joy of discovery that is something that gives you that boost. It's not so much the distance. It's about seeing something which is not familiar, right?
I mean, the best way to travel close to where you live is to take a tent, for example.
True.
A bicycle, for example, and you just go, you follow a road that you don't know, to the point you have never been walking. Maybe you've been by car, but and you sleep in the nature in the middle of nowhere with your tent. I don't know if you can do that safely in every places. I don't know about where you live, for example, but like you in Switzerland, you could do that, for example. And to me, that was
on
the
those
best
walking trails.
I felt the same as when I traveled to the other side of the world.
Exactly.
But it's a different type of travel, it's like it's more the contact with the nature.
Exactly.
This is another way of looking at traveling. I think it's another meaningful way of traveling. Like, I don't know if you know, for example, explorers like Mike Horn, for example. Like they don't go to meet locals, like they go in places that are extreme of cold or hot or dry, and they survive. It's like survival content almost.
Right.
And I mean, I cannot do that. I love to read books about this in my bed. And me is more, the adventure is more through the people. Like, it's the human adventure that I'm interested in, just my style. But I think this other style of connection with the nature is super interesting as well.
I think that's another thing with our generation, that we want to do everything. Like for me, I want to do what Harold does. Like I want to travel, like and give out money to people. I want to do like those urban exploration videos. I want to do what you're doing. I want to make like proper commercial content. I want to make maybe random travel content like other YouTubers do. I want to make food reviews. Like everything, we want to have it all, right? I think we're not satisfied easily. But then if you look at our parents, they're just happy, having a house, having a job, having a car. Simple things like that. Whereas our aspirations are so much bigger.
We want to have it all. Like maybe we cannot. It looks like as if everything was available. That's true. We want to live all kind of experiences.
Experiences, I mean, I don't mean in the tangible sense. Like, I don't mean in monetary terms, because obviously you have to be delusional to assume that you can't buy everything out there. But then in terms of doing different things, different activities, meeting different people, there's so much we want to do, in a short span of time. And we don't want to be stuck in one place. That phrase called wanderlust, that really defines that defines our generation.
That's interesting. That's true. And I think as we get older, we will come in terms with that. Might change. What I'm very worried in a way about is related to climate change, obviously, like a lot of people, but it could be that in the future we look at travel YouTubers or content creators as some of the worst example of people, that have done the worst thing for the planet.
Yeah.
And that's one of my worries. But at the same time, whenever I try to think of doing something else, I become depressed. Like I need to go back to this.
Yeah.
I just hope that maybe in the future, when, for example, I hopefully make more money with the YouTube channel, you know, I would be able to tell my girlfriend, you can quit your job as well, and together there is enough money, and we don't need to take a flight. We can just take a boat, you know, to cross the Atlantic and live that adventure, because we will have the luxury of having the time to travel slowly, let's say.
True.
So that's still something I hope I can head towards in the future. Like,
yeah.
it's also a more meaningful way of traveling. Like when you really see the progression. I had this colleague back then that went from Switzerland to Nepal, and with his girlfriend bicycling. So it took them 9 months to arrive to Nepal, and they Balkans, Turkey, Iran, then Dubai. They took a boat to India to Nepal. And I was following their blog back then, and I thought that must be amazing to see the cultural transition, you know, like not like when you fly, you really see how do you get from this side of the planet to this side, and how does it progress, you know, like.
True.
That was one of my dreams, like so I don't know if I can bicycle for that long, but maybe I'll do it, let's see, or differently.
You know, there was there's this Pakistani guy called Abrar, and he's got this channel called Wildlands by Abrar. He makes these nice videos, especially in Pakistan. And
how is it called?
Wildlands, Wildlens, Wildlands by Abrar. That's the name of the channel. And you know, his mission initially, right, was to go by cycle from Germany to Pakistan all the way. He wanted to go by cycle, but then he ended up taking a bike. He has a BMW bike, and then he's traveled like all the way from Europe to Pakistan. And he makes videos of his
motorbike. You mean?
Motorbike, yeah. He's got like a BMW tower. Yeah. So, you know, I was on his Patreon live because I support a few content creators. Like I donate to them. And that's when he was saying, you know, I asked him, you know, how he got started. And he was like, initially I was thinking about doing it by cycle. And then I ended up using a bike. Like, I mean, people who have these thoughts, man, we can't even think of cycling for like 20 minutes because, you know, your legs are going to hurt. But then they think about traveling continents, you know, traversing these absurd distances. So I think that's a different obsession, man. I'm not built for that extreme stuff. Yeah, you need a lot of mental toughness to do that.
I guess you need to get started as well. It's probably once you're into it, it's okay.
Yeah, but then you know, after
I tried to go around there's the biggest lake in Western Europe where I grew up in Switzerland, between France and Switzerland. It's called the Lake of, in English, the Lake of Geneva. And I tried to go around. It's like I forget how many kilometers, but like close to 100, I guess. And I did half because my knee was hurting. Like I don't know.
On a bicycle?
On a bicycle, yeah.
Oh.
And this is one time where I put my tent in the middle of the forest, like on the way. And, I didn't choose well my location because it was close to the airport. So the whole night I had the plane going on top of me. But I was like, wow, like because it was hard, you know, like you're not used to that level of cycling the whole day. Like my butt was hurting terribly, like, and there's this moment where I was gonna break, you know, and I still continued, but then I was like, how can I continue this for over weeks and months? You know, like, I was happy to go home, but but it was special. You enter a different kind of energy. You have that feeling of freedom, you know, like,
exactly. That happens to me, you know, when I run, because you know, a half marathon is a decent distance, right? 21 kilometers is not is not easy. I mean, when you think about it, it's obviously, you know, a fairly long distance. But then once you start, right, then you feel like I've already achieved it, so I can't give up now. So I'm like, I've done it so many times that how can I fall short of my previous achievement, right? I have to get better, like every day. Like I either do a better timing, or you know, there's only, or I finish, right? I can't give up. Like I've already started now. So then that becomes a task for you. So you have to like focus and do that. But then
no,
I feel that
because
there's a sense
otherwise
of
you
torture
lose your
somewhere.
self-esteem a bit, no? Like,
Yeah, like see, I mean, there's a saying in Hindi, right? In India, they say that if 1,000 people tell you as well, like that you know, you're good for nothing, it won't hurt you as much. But then if you fall in your own eyes, like if you think you're useless, or if you suck, like if you tell that to yourself, then you know you can't recover from that. So I think your self-respect and what impression you have, what expectations you have, and the standard that you've set, you have to achieve that, like no matter what. Like it doesn't matter who's watching you. Like you want to achieve your target.
No, it's so true. Like,
yeah.
Skydiving when I was 20, and my only dream was one of the other stuff on the bucket list. You know, I wanted to jump from a plane without anyone else, you know, alone. And there is this training, I think it's worldwide, like it's 7 jumps, some jumps that you do with the 3 first jumps with 2 instructors, and then until the last jump where you're alone and the instructor is further away.
Wow.
Yeah. But from the beginning, you have your own parachute. Like, and I always imagine myself, I love heights, you know, that's why I was working on a roof as well, you know, like I'm not, I don't know, I love flying. My best dreams that I literally do is about flying, and those I love them. And that's one of the closest feeling you have to flying. And so I always thought, okay, I suck at school, I'm not good at this, you know, I'm stuck at many stuff, but there's one thing I would be good at, not to be scared of jumping, you know. So I went like this, without too much preparation, too much dedication. I was like, I can do that. And the first jump I did, I completely lost my head. I forgot the exercise I had because I had to do a series of sequence, like completely forgot.
You forgot everything.
Or I did it wrong, you know, and then I forgot the priority, which was at this type of altitude, you open your parachute, you don't, whether the exercise is, and I wanted to restart the exercise. And not super good survival instinct there, but the instructor opened my parachute, and I felt that as a I was like, I was not even able to open parachute, you know, like it was an attack on my self-esteem, because the only thing that I thought I would be good at, you know, like, and after landing, I was like super,
dude, you had one job. You had one job to do it. You couldn't do that.
And then I was like, you started this, you cannot give up, you know. And also it was expensive, this kind of program. So it was in Italy, actually, I remember, in the northern Italy, and I just did the full dedication. After that, I was like, I cannot stop this or go back. I have to recover my pride there, you know, like. So I became more humble. I was like, I need to work as well, you know, and repeat the sequence of what I have to do, each step. So I was spending the whole day before I jumped repeating, you know, and I didn't care if I looked stupid. I remember I was like the wall, doing like the position like this, you know, like people were laughing. I started to have even muscle ache in my back by doing this the whole day, you know. And I didn't care. Like, I was focused. I want to succeed these jumps now. And I think on the second one was already better, I think. And but trainers were telling me, like, they put my nose into me, and they said, you lack trust in your confidence, you know. And I thought I had more confidence back then than people put the mirror in front of my face, you know, like,
Yeah.
And so when you accept is the first step to progress. And I think on the fourth or fifth jump, I don't remember, I did a perfect exit from the plane. It was really like I was facing in front of the plane and then turning. And everything was filmed on GoPro because we were debriefing after the instructor.
Nice.
And I remember that my instructor was she was a woman, and she was like a mother. You know, she had like she was the wife of she was her husband was the director of the school, and they had children. You know, and I remember after I did this perfect exit, she kissed me on the mouth. You know, like while falling. And I remember that after that, I lost all my balance because I didn't see this coming.
Wow.
And
she
told
did
me
that
after
in
we
midair,
landed,
like when you were free falling.
Yeah, while falling. Yeah.
Whoa.
That was pretty amazing. And I remember it was an amazing jump because the sun was going on, so it was orange, the sky, like it was great. And after we landed, she told me like that was the best exit I ever seen on a plane. So I'm gonna keep that video as an example for the future students.
Nice.
To me, to go like from that jump to that, it proved me that I was like, if you work hard, you can do something. And he helped me tremendously this experience after when I went to university as well, to not give up and to I knew that if I work hard, I can make it.
Yeah.
It's another amazing anecdote. Like
Yeah, for sure. Do you have all those videos? Have you posted them on your channel?
Man, I wish I keep them. You know, back then I didn't care too much. I have one that was maybe, was it during the training or after? I think I was already jumping. I was a bit later when I did like several jumps after. I have one somewhere. Yeah, I shared it. I think on Instagram. I think somewhere. It's the only one I kept. But the ones during the training, I really didn't. If I could go back, I would ask to have them.
Yeah. You know, another thing is about documentation, right? Like people don't realize the importance of it. Like right now you're thinking about all those clips, but then it's only in your memory. Like you don't have the actual videos of it and you can't retrieve it at any point of time. So
I was telling this experience to my colleagues back then. I was studying carpentry and believe me, they literally didn't believe me. They thought I was bullshitting. And
so you need proof. You need proof.
Yeah. But I didn't care. You know, I did it for myself. I didn't do it for them. But it was funny. Like
Yeah. I mean, just for yourself, even to relive that moment, like when you watch those videos, you can go through those emotions. So sometimes, you know, I have that habit, like when something nice is happening, right? Like just get the camera out and record. Like you never know, it can be funny. Like you can always delete it. Like if there's nothing important.
Right.
You can always delete it. You've got so much space on your phone. Like just record, because those few seconds that, you know, you can always go back to it and, you know, relive that moment. But if you haven't recorded, then it's gone forever.
Yeah.
It's so important to document.
I will do better in the future. Now I'm recording more stuff. So.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, man. I think we should end it now. It must have been like 4 hours. I don't know what the time is.
We scratched the whole thing.
Yeah, gosh. It's almost
I need to go.
Yeah, it's almost 3 a.m. in India. It's 2:47 a.m.
Wow, yeah. I need to work as well on the video now for a client, actually.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. I mean, you're most welcome to have another podcast with Neil. He'll be happy to do it. And we can catch up, you know, anytime in case you want to chat or anything like that.
Of course.
Always stay connected.
Maybe we see each other in person when I come to India.
That would be great. But my hopes are down, you know, with COVID and all this nonsense. Like, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. So I think we've got to live with the Zoom call for now.
Yeah, I hope it will happen. And I really want to go to India as well. It was one of my missions. So stay in contact. and I can't wait to share the podcast as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll put it out once it's edited. I'm curious to listen to it myself. I want to hear it back and see how it sounds. But yeah, hopefully it turns out good.
Yeah, thanks again for contacting me.
Yeah. Cheers, buddy. You have a good rest of the day, and thanks so much for taking time out and doing this, man. I mean, I was just taking a shot in the dark. I was like, we haven't really met. I don't really know him, and I thought it'd be cool to do it. And it's also my first or second time. So I'm like, will I really do well as a podcaster? Like, I was having a lot of thoughts, but then we just, kind of got into the groove, and then it just got better along the way.
Yeah, it's my second one. I really like one. I like this one even better. Is the truth, and my girlfriend is gonna be happy because she thinks I speak too much. So she's gonna be okay. Now it's good. You spoke enough for this podcast. And no, I have to say there's one of the qualities I should improve is my listening skills.
Right. And I get that a lot. Like, I don't know if you agree, but people say that I listen well. Like, I'm a good listener.
Yeah, you listen very well. Yeah, I guess that's why as well you're doing a podcast like this one.
Yeah. Okay. Nice, dude. It was excellent. Like, I'm fully satisfied with all we talked about. So
yeah, amazing. I'm glad.
Yeah.
And okay. Sleep well.
Yeah, man. And love to you. Much love from India. And we welcome you. I can be your host if you come down to Bangalore. And
amazing.
Yeah, we'll spend some time. It's the pub capital of the country, so we can get a nice drink and some good food. And
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we stay in touch.
Yeah. Sure, man. Take care then.
Chao.
Chao.
Nos vemos en español.
Adiós. Namaste.
Yes.
Namaste.